Welcome to Fatman on... Oh, shit.
Whoa, so close. So close.
Look at I'm so wired, man. Welcome for the very first time, ladies and gentlemen, to Fatman Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernard.
Hey!
Ho!
Holy shit, man. We were just informed as by Nate before we walked out here, as well as JC, who owns this place. First off, welcome to the Scum and Villainy Cantina here on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, motherfucking California. Put your hands together so the folks at home know you're real. I didn't know this, and I don't think you knew this. We were just informed that yesterday sound like the president. Yesterday was 1 year ago that we did the very first Fatman on Batman here at the Scum and Villainy Cantina, man. So it's an anniversary.
Every year we're going to change the name of the show, right?
What is it?
Every year we're going to change the name of the show?
Yes, so once a year, man. Next year, Fatman forever. Yeah, man, it's kind of fucking crazy. So we wound up having an anniversary show without knowing it. But today, of course, we gather for that most religious of holidays, the highest of holidays here, particularly on a show called Fatman Beyond. It is Batman Day. Happy Batman Day, everybody. Such a oxymoronic term. Happy Batman. Like, if he's happy, the show is over, right? Like.
Is this when Thomas and Martha were killed? Is that why
that's
it's
it.
the 15th?
This is the day that marks the death of his parents. Unhappy Batman Day.
Hooray!
A very unhappy Batman Day to you. Fantastic that this thing is catching on and trending, man. It's like almost like a Hallmark holiday, like a greeting card holiday, where they're like, you will fucking celebrate Valentine's Day, motherfuckers.
Or like National Cheeseburger Day. All right, it's a day for a thing I already love. I'll have a cheeseburger.
But those, oddly enough, those days feel like disposable. Like every day is like National Donut Day, blah, blah, blah. This Batman Day, man, it fucking seems to be like taking a hold. This is the second year they did it?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
I don't remember. I still don't know why.
There was news stories about it. I saw a news story. Like, it's Batman Day on the news. I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, call your parents, just in case.
It'd be amazing, man. We should turn Batman Day into like a secondary Father's Day and Mother's Day. Like, because Batman Day, what do? You call your parents and tell them you love them and shit. Or you save them from a mugger's bullet. Either or.
Or you take them to the opera.
Yes. Just don't take them to see Zorro, whatever you do. In honor of Batman Day, the good folks at DC have given us some stuff to give out as prizes that we'll be bringing to the Q&A session and whatnot. So thanks to the folks at DC. That's going to be nice. Speaking of DC, Batman Day was the official launch of the DC Universe app. So if you bought the app or whatever, today was the day everything went live. So this morning when I woke up, it was like Christmas. I was like, I got to look at the old shit that I've already seen. And I went down the library, man, like in terms of they got the animated series, like the first 2 seasons of it and stuff, Justice League Unlimited. They got a ton of fucking content, including Legends of the Superheroes, the roast with Adam West.
Wow.
And the old like Legion of Doom and stuff like that. A lot of old programming, a lot of Lois and Clark is on there and stuff. They dropped the first episode of DC Daily, so I got to see my kid as one of the 400 cast members of that show, so she was on the show. I got to see that, but I dig it. It's really cool, and I love the idea that you can watch a movie. At the end of it, they're like, hey, if you like that movie, read this comic, and you can click on it and fucking read the comic on your television. Really, really sweet. There's a community aspect, which I imagine I'd be way into if I wasn't the guy that gets a lot of shit online already. Like sometimes I just pop into a forum and be like, hi, and they're like, fuck off, Tusk. So, I'm not gonna burden that community, but they also have a store so you could buy shit. It's kind of like it's almost like it was designed by me at age 11. Like, what do you want? And I'm like, all the good things in life, all the DC TV shows and shit. I want to buy shit. I want to meet friends. And they've kind of put it all under one cap. Have you seen it? Are you diving in?
I haven't gotten it. I'm waiting for Titans. I'm like,
Which drops, I believe, next month.
Yeah, so I'll buy in when I can watch Titans.
The fuck Batman show.
Happy Batman Day. Fuck that.
It's pretty sweet though. It's cool. I dug it, man. I've been digging it. I went looking for my favorite episodes of shows like that I love, and I've already got them on fucking DVD, Blu-ray, and I also have them streaming other places. I think I bought a lot of them on iTunes. But I went looking for the end of Batman Brave and Bold, that cartoon, which is really kind of unsung, man. Everyone loves Batman, the animated series, and rightfully so. But Brave and Bold was just full of fucking wonder, and it was a take on Batman as the relentless, very much comic book character take, relentless pursuit of justice. Like to the point where he rarely ever fucking took off his mask. There was very few Bruce Wayne. It was mostly Batman. The great Diedrich Bader did his voice and stuff. And in the last episode of the series that they did 3 seasons, and the final episode was called Mightfall, and it was about how Bat-Mite hated how light in tone the show was. He echoed like the audience out there was like, this ain't the animated series, man. Bring it dark again and shit like that. So they're kind of making fun of those people. And so Bat-Mite was like, I'm going to try to get the show canceled so it gets replaced by a better show that's darker or something like that. And so it's a great episode, but at the end, like, they wind up canceling the show. And so they have this big party at the Batcave, every hero they ever had, and they used the heroes well. Like, they would open that episode with like a cold opening that would have some heroes in it that wouldn't even be in the main episode and shit like that. All the DC characters were fucking represented. So they were all in the Batcave. And there's some like sad kind of mellow piano music playing. And Ambush Bug is talking to Batman. And Batman's realizing that it's done. And they're pulling down, like they pick up the Batmobile and turn it around. It's a 2-dimensional flat and stuff. And they're deflating like, the atomic battery and stuff. And so Batman goes like, I guess that's it. So I guess this is really it. And Ambush Bug goes, yeah, but still, you had a good run. And then it makes me fucking cry just thinking about it. And then Batman goes, a great run. And then he turns to fucking camera. I can't get through it. He turns to camera. And it's perhaps my favorite Batman moment in anything. He turns the camera and he dresses kids. Like, he really, I was watching. But he was still working under the pretense that kids like this stuff. And so I can't do it justice, but I've tweeted it today because it's like my favorite fucking Batman anything. I just want to make sure I get the dialogue right because it was so perfect. Hold on one sec. God damn it. Vamp while I'm doing this. Well done. I'm back.
I killed it, man. Just you can trust me, man. I got you.
You got me. So he looks at the camera and he says, and until we meet again, boys and girls, know that wherever evil lurks in all its myriad forms, I'll be there with the hammers of justice to fight for decency and defend the innocent. And then he says good night. It is fucking heartbreaking. And it ends the show. It's the end. And then they go to the credits and they're fucking done. But that fucking one moment, man, where he says, like, I watch it, I swear to you, it's, if I was an actor who had to, like, do an emotional scene, if I was in a scene with Meryl Streep, I'd be like, hold on one sec. And then I'd go watch this clip. Like, like this. And she'd figure it out. And she'd be like, that's your secret? And I'd be like, yeah, man, I ain't as good as you. I need this. So it is fucking beautiful, man. But at one point in the middle of that little, like, goodbye send-off, he references the hammers of justice. And those are his fucking fists. So even in the midst of this really, like, melancholy, nostalgic little, like, send-off, bittersweet little send-off, they fucking stuck in their version of Batman. They were so true to the character that they presented for 3 years that he's good with kids, but he'll fucking beat you up if you're bad. Oh, I fucking love it. And the way Diedrich delivers it, where it's just like, because he's so soft, and he's like, until we meet again, boys and girls, which is also heartbreaking, but also like hopeful, because it's Batman. They're never letting this motherfucker go to sleep. So he'll be back in another incarnation. And he was like a couple months later and stuff. But in the middle of this really bittersweet send-off, for him to throw up, and he does. He brings up his fist. He's like, I'll be there with the hammers of justice. And then he goes right back into being fucking soft.
It's a good thing he brought the fists up.
No kidding, man. He's like, here's
that's a different
Thomas
show.
and Martha, motherfucker, you know. But oh my God, it's such a beautiful. So I went looking for that on the app, and it was reversed. Like the last episode of the Might Fall episode was put second to last and under the wrong heading. So I was able to talk to folks who work at the app to be like, hey man, the last 2 episodes of Batman Brave and Bold need to be flipped. And they're like, are you a beta tester? But I was like, I'm just a big fucking fan. So I spent all morning getting emotional going through like my highlights of and it honestly is so fucking weird to say. Like it made me fall in love with the character, like again, a bit more. I think like during the and I'm not laying this on his shoulders, but the Batfleck version of Batman, I was kind of detached from, especially after I saw Batman v Superman. I was like, oh, that's an interesting take, but it's not what I really think of as Batman. And there were all these other Marvel movies happening, so we shifted attention like to other places. But after this morning, man, I like kind of fell in love with the character, and when you go to your favorite fucking moments that feature the character, and it led me to pick up Dark Knight Returns. I started reading that again and stuff. So I have a feeling we'll probably be getting into lots more Batman on this show.
For sure.
Yeah.
I didn't watch any Batman today.
You were just being a contrarian for Batman Day? You're like, I watched Superman. Fuck him.
I was watching Iron Fist today.
Oh, that's kind of like Batman.
The goofiest version of it, yeah.
How's it going?
Well, season 2. Do you guys remember how I felt about season 1?
Yeah.
It's great, you guys. He's got a glowy fist and everything, and I don't know, he wears sandals a lot. Season 2 is far better than season 1 already.
Okay.
I'm 6 episodes in, and at least shit is happening, and the writing is much better, and the supporting cast is pretty strong. The guy who plays Davos, whose name I can't remember, is phenomenal, and he's doing a lot of heavy lifting in this. Alice Eve is playing Typhoid Mary, and she's great.
What?
Yeah.
They brought in Typhoid Mary into
Mary.
Iron Fist?
Yeah.
It's a Daredevil character.
It's all the same thing.
Interesting.
But I have 2 problems with the show that remain. One is Finn Jones just isn't that good. He's just not. He's not
the guy that plays.
He's the guy who plays Danny.
The Iron Fister.
And so, like, if he was doing that, it'd be so much more interesting.
Maybe that's why they hired him. They're like, little guy's got small hands. Let him be the Iron Fister.
I gave up working at the Rand Corporation for my own proctology practice. The Iron Fist. He's just like there's something so mannered and kind of slight about him, and not in a good way. There's a way to make that fun. There's a way to make that fish out of water back in New York, doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, is thrust into the middle of crazy shit and has to make his way through. That's kind of not what they're doing. And so he doesn't center the show in the way it needs to be centered. Yay!
That we ring that bell every time Marc insults Iron Fist.
Just get your hand ready. And they have now covered for him in the martial arts a lot by giving him like a little face mask thing, or sometimes the traditional Iron Fist mask he's wearing.
So I saw a clip where they're like in ceremonial battle wearing the traditional Iron Fist mask. Does it go beyond that scene?
Yes.
So he'll wear it in the street and shit?
Not really. He wears like the big turtleneck in the street and wears like the cowl.
So when he fights, he's Bazooka Joe?
Pretty much. It's basically like, hey, when it's not Finn Jones? When he's wearing the turtleneck over his mouth.
All right. Fair enough,
eyes,
man.
which
We're
is fine.
we're all fucking TV savvy,
Which is
movie
fine.
savvy. We know.
My bigger problem is that one of the reasons I love the MCU, movie-wise, is that each movie feels like it's a different tone. Like the unifying theory of the Marvel Universe is kind of fun, and they can do anything. And so you get like the dark, kind of gritty, paranoid thriller of Captain America. You get the kind of wisecracky Iron Man. You get
The fun in space with
the daffy as fuck, Guardians of the Galaxy. You
and
get the
Last Thor.
Yeah, in the last Thor, you get the kind of like low stakes, low impact, kind of we're doing a heist of Ant-Man.
Yeah.
There's lots of different flavors. So
And Spider-Man was like a John Hughes high school movie.
And so you can kind of just bounce, and if you get a little too bored with one, there's another one coming in 6 months that's a different tone.
Right.
All of the Marvel shows are so fucking grim. They're the same flavor of grim. They're the same flavor of, I'm haunted by something, and look, the city is, I gotta save the city. I'm the Punisher / I'm Daredevil / I'm Luke Cage / it's the same fucking thing.
Cut to fucking Marvel Netflix headquarters listening to this podcast going like, we're never hiring these two assholes.
Nope. Last week they wanted to know why they don't get a show. We found out why they're never getting a show. It's just like, vary the tone. Let's have some fun. Like,
You're right, man. That's true. Those 4 shows. Well, I would say, you know, you get it seemed to be lighter moments in Luke Cage and in Iron Fist than there were in Daredevil and in Jessica Jones, but all 4 of them are played very straightforward.
They really are, and some of them should be.
And gritty.
For sure. Like, I get Punisher being gritty as fuck.
And that's why we liked them when they first started.
Yeah, because they were taking it for real.
But your point is, it's the same taste over and over and over again. Like, can't one of them be, this is the Laverne and Shirley of the bunch, you know? Like, they're having good times and shit like
Lenny
that.
and Squiggy show up.
Yes.
Yeah, like if one of them was Spencer for Hire, you know, one of them was just like, we're having a fun detective procedural with these 2 guys who are mismatched buddies, and they got to fight crime in Hell's Kitchen.
Which is what the book
That's
Heroes for Hire was.
Yeah, but instead it's, you know, these kind of dim, morose treatises on urban blight and crime and corruption. I'm like, no, I get it, but I don't need to get that much of it.
It's weird. You could probably get away with a Heroes for Hire that was like more like the episodic TV we grew up on, where every week they were just getting some fuckers out of a jam and then like moving on. And maybe there's an mythology underneath, you know, like we got to get fucking this X, Y, or Z. But the whole time, it's not like right now, every one of those series is one long ass story. And I guess they're designed that way because they want to keep you watching and stuff. But it might be nice to have one show in the mix that's more. What is those episode? No, procedural.
Like, make it the X-Files. Like,
Yeah.
I love the fucking X-Files. Like,
Yeah.
What are we punching in the face this week? I don't know. Let's go see it. Iron Fist, bam. And then kind of a gentle mythology that kind of ties it all
Yeah,
together.
like at the end, he's got his own cigarette smoking man or something like that. That kind of like, we got to get him. We got to Iron Fist the fuck out of that guy. But first, you know, then they get preoccupied doing something. Marvel's like, yeah, no, that show's never going to happen. But I think your point is taken in as much as it might be nice to have, like, just to hey, man, throw a little sherbet in there, would you?
Yeah, just fucking sprinkle a little sugar on top of this every now and again.
Yeah.
Sprinkle some crack on it.
They're like, what do you want, sugar or crack? Make up your fucking minds. I haven't taken the dive yet. So how deep did you get?
I got 6 episodes in.
So how many are there total?
10. They shortened this run from 13 to 10.
Oh, that's a selling
Which
point.
I
So
think is
weird
also
that
helping.
that's the only place in the world where I'm like, less? That's more. You know, you'd imagine, like, give me as many as possible. But having seen, 13 every season, I'd be happy to get 10.
Yeah, it's not so bad to just have 10 to go on.
All right.
And
so
I'll watch it.
Are you going to finish?
I'll finish it.
Are
I
you
will.
into the actual plot line this time?
Yay!
That wasn't an insult.
I am. Although Danny Rand is the least interesting part of even the story.
Does Misty have a bionic arm?
Yep.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Just flat out. Where'd they get it?
Danny Rand.
He had it made?
Yeah.
Is
Rand Corporation provided her with a bionic arm.
Is it made with...
It looks like plastic, but probably space-age polymers.
Is it meant to be like this from Wakanda?
No.
No tie-in whatsoever?
No. Not even like, we got magic Kunlun technology. Nope.
Nothing.
Nope, just an arm. Which
Just
is bad.
He's like, look, I'm a billionaire. Fuck all your magic. I just built a robot arm. There it is.
money is my superpower.
Did they do Daughters of the Dragon?
There's
Does
a
her
little
and
bit.
Colleen...
In the episode I'm watching, like, Danny is missing in action, and so Colleen and Misty have to find him. And so you just get the 2 of them together, and Misty's like, hey, you're not bad at this detective shit. I'm like, you're right, she's not at all bad at this detective
This
shit.
is the show! This is the show! Get that boy out of there! This is the show!
Yeah, like, oh, we never found him. We just decided to be detectives now. And move on.
Yeah, without they left Danny in the middle of his
pretty much.
adventure.
Boy, I sure hope my girlfriend comes to get me. What?
Do they still keep the Meachams, the family?
Yes. You don't see the dad, but you do see the sisters, Joy and Ward.
The sister and brother.
Sister brother. Sorry, Ward.
That was the part of the first season that I found like everyone saying his name. Like they should have called the show Danny because everyone was just like, "What's Danny thinking? I don't know. Where's Danny? You've got to ask Danny." And then like the security guard who just met him was just like, "Well, Danny was just here." Like they just kept hammering that name over and over again. That was the thing that stuck out with me the most. That, and at the end, they were like, "There's a dragon under New York," and I was like, "Fuck, this show's so metal." And they're like, "It's only bones," and I was like, "Fuck you! Oh, I gave you my time. Give me a real dragon." Fuck this! I'm watching Game of Thrones.
That's yeah. Like you said, there's a whole stretch in this where you see why Davos and Danny they're fundamental split. Like they were brothers, they were raised in Kunlun together.
And we met him in the last one.
We met him
right?
in the first one, and but you never see Danny fight the fucking dragon. It's like it's TV. Show me him fight the fucking dragon. Yeah. We can do dragons. I've seen them on the worst shows.
Yeah. Even if they did like it's Marvel, so you could get away with doing like animated, just do it like comic book style. Like, look, we ran out of money, so here's a cartoon. You know?
Totally. Stylistically do that, or like pay the fucking money. Just don't do a shitty show and save all that money so then I can get one dragon one time.
Or like instead of 10 episodes, do 8. Save that money for a dragon.
Yeah, I would happily do with 2 less episodes to get one fucking dragon. That's math I can get behind.
Yeah, it's truly. It's an adorable notion. Marvel's sitting there listening and going like, he's got a point. 2 shows is worth 1 dragon. All right, man. We got, you know what, let's keep going in the review vein of things. Mark and I, just before we got here, had a little movie date.
We did, in the matinee date.
Movie date. Mark and Kevin on a movie date. And Mark paid. It was very sweet.
Yeah. And you bought the snacks.
I did. I bought the snacks. We didn't want to commit to each other yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, handle yours, I'll handle this. But it was great. We went to the ArcLight and saw a movie that I don't know. I definitely was interested in seeing, but I don't know that I would have gone. I know for a fact, like my wife, when I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, Mark just asked me to go to this." She was like, "You better take him up on it because I ain't fucking seeing that," you know. And I was like, "I don't go to the movies with just you." And she's like, "Who else do you go with?" I was like, "All right, just you." But fucking. So Mark invited me to go see the Predator.
Yeah.
So we just went to see the Predator, man. So we can give you a first-person fucking account and review of the Predator.
How do you feel about the Predator series in general?
I think that's a fair question to put out there. Indifferent at best. Like, I'm not like a wild fan. Like, I paid fucking good lawn mowing cash money back in 1987 or whatever the fuck to see Predator in a theater, man. You know, Arnold, you can do no wrong, until he became governor. And then, so I paid to see twice. I paid to see Danny Glover fucking kick the Predator's
Get too
ass.
old for this shit?
Yes.
In front of the Predator?
You're like, where's the other guy? And so I paid to see both of the first 2 Predators in a movie. I think I paid to see Alien versus Predator. I have vague memories of seeing it, but I can't guarantee you I went to a theater to see that. I supported the idea, like, oh shit, this is amazing, but then didn't financially support the idea. So, but I know I definitely caught up to it later on. I did not see Predators with an S or whatever it was, the Robert Rodriguez one. I haven't seen that. And I don't know if they've done any since then. So this one, if they were just making a Predator movie, I don't know that I would have cared, but I do like Shane Black a lot. Shane Black directed some of my favorite flicks. Aside from writing some of my favorite flicks back in the day, I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, a.k.a. Kiss Kiss Clang Clang. The Nice Guys. There's something else too, right? What am I forgetting? I don't know, but I like him as a director. Oh, fuck it. No, I said Iron Man 3. Lethal Weapon. He wrote that one, but yes, that's what I
Long
was talking
Kiss
about.
Goodnight. Last Boy Scout.
Last Boy Scout. Those are the ones he wrote. But so I've long been a fan. So I was like, oh, he's doing the Predator. And then there was an interesting tie-in in as much as he was in the first Predator.
Yes.
He was one of the soldiers who gets killed pretty quickly and shit. So I was like, oh shit, man, you got to imagine that's going to be like weird for him and stuff and wonderful. Where he's like, I was on set for one of them and now I'm in charge of the other. So I don't know. All of that made me go like, all right, I'll take a sip of this. And then, things got very public last week or 2 weeks ago about like, the Predator had a Predator. And I was like, what? Is that part of the plot? And they're like, yes, but it's also part of the non-plot of the movie as well. So that kind of brought it. I didn't even realize it was coming out now. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it must be coming out because I keep hearing about it and shit. So I don't know that I was going to rush to see it. So I was glad that you asked because it gave me a total excuse to go. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Like there was enough fun stuff going on, and it was pretty much not exactly like I imagined it, but pretty much what I assumed going in. Like, oh, I bet you he's not a good guy, and she's gonna help. And I didn't know there was a kid. They kept that kind of quiet in the trailers and shit. That might have changed my mind. If they were like, plus there's a kid, I was like, fuck this. But I should know better because Shane Black always sticks like a kid
Almost always,
in his movies, yeah. So, and not like as a big part of the plot, but he likes to have a child in jeopardy or something like that. Maybe it's for the idea of like, look, I know kids probably watch this shit too, and if it's a bunch of adults running around, they got nobody to identify with. Here's a fucking kid. So, For me, I found it like entertaining. A lot of shit blew up. I think it's hysterical because it also kind of mirrors, like when we made Tusk, it came off of a podcast, and me and Scott Mosier, were talking about this dopey story, and we kept building like this would-be story, like, oh, imagine you did this, and then at one point we were in the third act, and I was like, oh shit, man, we got to do it like the third act of Iron Man, where like the whole time you saw the suit, but then a fucking bigger suit comes out and shit. So when you watch Tusk, we literally took the third act from Iron Man because that's what we talked about on the podcast. But that's what they did with the Predator. They're like, look at the fucking Predator, ain't he scary? They're like, fuck off, kids. There's a bigger Predator. Like they really just sized up, man. That was the whole idea and shit. I thought that was kind of funny. A lot of good like dark laughs, good gore. Just the right amount of gore and shit like that. Lot of good uses of the word fuck. I don't generally judge a movie based on that, but there were some in this movie that I was like, well done. Who's the Sterling Brown?
Sterling K. Brown.
Sterling K. Brown, a dude from This Is Us.
Right.
I thought he was great. I mean, he took what was at the end of the day a pretty, textbook bad guy. Not necessarily textbook, because Shane Black usually has got flair when he writes and stuff, so there was something there. But it could have been so easily played by like Anthony Hopkins late in his career or something, or just pick somebody. It was nothing really making it pop. Feels like he did an Alan Rickman with it, like in Die Hard, where he had a standard villain. He's like, well, let me put my spin on it. Because I remember every scene he was in. And he was charming as fuck, and like, at some point, spoilers, I think he's meant to be the fucking bad guy, but he's so fucking charming, you're like rooting for the fucking bad guy, man. You're like, yeah, ice the kid, do it. He was the discovery for me. I mean, I know he's a good actor, but like he's so good that he found a new way to play an old role. I thought that was really cool. The dude who's on, what's his name, Boyd
Holbrook?
Yeah, he was on the show on Netflix. Narcos, yeah, he's really fucking good in that show. He was in Wolverine as well. Logan, that's right. I thought he was really good, but you pointed out at one point, I guess there must have been big reshoots because the end scene of the movie, he looks completely different than he looked in the rest of the movie.
It's like he wasn't working out anymore. And they were like, it's like, you want me to put this back on?
We done? And he just started eating Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, all the pasta. It's like, oh shit, one more scene. I'll squeeze into this, sure.
It was, for me, felt like total like summer movie and stuff. Doesn't reinvent the wheel, but I thought it's mostly satisfied. At the end, it seemed like they were setting up for like, there's more coming. Like everybody threads the needle now for sequels. Nobody makes one movie anymore. Now they're just like banking on a universe, and it smells a little bit like they were doing that at the end. I thought, but I didn't pay shit, so it was really worth it. Marc paid. So, as the guy who paid not just once but twice, you've paid twice to see this movie.
I've seen this movie twice.
Yeah, you can be honest. What'd you think?
Well, I love the first Predator.
Do you really?
I love that movie. It's the manliest movie I think that's ever been made.
It's pretty butch.
Because it's just like slicing off testosterone and throw it against the wall and shooting it with a camera that's got flamethrowers underneath it. Yeah, but it's also a wonderfully constructed movie because it's super fucking simple. It's let me drop the badasses to the badass guys who are thoroughly professional and very good at their job into the jungle, and something is going to hunt them, and it's not going to matter how many guns they have, and it's not going to matter what tactics they use. They're going to be outgunned. It's 10 little Indians in the fucking jungle with Schwarzenegger at his most Schwarzeneggeriest.
Where is that in his career?
That is post-Terminator.
Right. Is it post-Terminator 2?
No, it's pre-Terminator 2. So it's still, I got a little something to prove.
It's post-Commando.
Post-Commando. It's like we gave him lines. We think maybe he can deliver all of this shit. So great. It's got Carl Weathers and Bill Duke and Jesse the Body Ventura and Sonny Landham, the bad guy from 48 Hours, who's amazing.
Yeah.
And it becomes this it's man versus animal movie, man versus nature movie, and the way through is I have to abandon everything that I know about warfare. I have to abandon all this technology and just face this thing down, face my fears, and punch it in its fucking face.
Right.
But it's super.
You ugly motherfucker.
Yeah, but it's wonderfully constructed, just narratively constructed. It all builds the right way. The second movie is weird in that it almost forgets the audience has seen a Predator movie. So it's like it begins, who's killing these fucking Jamaican Rasta voodoo people? Who could it possibly be? The movie's called Predator, motherfucker. I know what it is. I saw the last one, that's why I'm here for this one. I don't spend 60 minutes.
It's got a 2.
Yeah. But this movie, it's kind of all over the place. Like, it starts pretty well. It starts in this kind of evocative echo of the first one, where we're in the jungle and some ship crashes and a predator just like rumbles into the scene, and suddenly, what's going on? It's a fucking alien. It's got some shit. And then it's a guy sending mementos back to his son who seems to be autistic, and okay, sure, we're gonna do that, I guess. And then he gets arrested because he knew shit about aliens, and then he's at a bus with a bunch of crazy kind of military...
A ragtag group of expendables.
Yeah, like the A-Team, but not nearly as interesting. And then it becomes like 8 or 9 different movies at once, none of which ever actually land and become something. They just kind of glance off of what feels like might have been interesting. And then you also get this feeling that this movie used to be 3 hours long and they just cut vast swaths out of it.
It does feel like there was a bunch of cutting being done.
Yeah, like suddenly we're on a bus and then we're walking and then we're in an RV. And when did we get an RV? And how did everybody get guns? All right, sure, I guess. We're in Act 2. Let's keep going. And then there's a predator who's the bad guy, and then there's a bigger predator who's a worse guy. And then there's Sterling K. Brown, who's also the bad guy. So there's 4 bad guys in this movie. I didn't mention the other bad guy, who's just like the bad guy, junior bad guy. And
there's a lot of fucking bad guys.
there's a lot of bad guys, but also like half the bad guys are the U.S. military, and then there's our guys who just wantonly kill members of the U.S. military, even though they're all soldiers. But that's fine.
Yeah.
We're just gonna kill other army guys, and it's totally
because
cool.
they're part of a black ops complex of
Yeah.
sorts. So I guess it gives them license to kill those kids.
Yeah, it's messy in a way that the first one was super fucking clean and surgical. And there's some decent humor in it because Shane Black can write a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And the actors in it are, I mean, what's his face? The Trevante Rhodes from Moonlight is phenomenal.
He's great.
Yeah, he's
the
great.
flick.
Keegan-Michael Key, I will watch that motherfucker tell jokes all day long.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane playing somebody with Tourette's for reasons, I guess. Just because apparently
It's true. They tackled. They had a character with Tourette's and then a character with. Were they saying it was Asperger's?
Yeah.
He's on the spectrum somewhere.
On the spectrum. So clearly, Shane Black is a sensitive filmmaker. Sure. Okay. But yeah, like I did not have a bad time watching it, but I was never for a moment excited by it.
Right.
It was just, all right, sure, we blew some shit up and some of it pretty good. Okay. The gore is great. Some of the action is fun. But
Let me ask you a question. Did
Ask
they
me.
ever do anything with his teeth in the first 2 movies? This is the first movie I think that I can remember
That he uses it like a weapon?
Yeah, like fucking somebody at one point, he guts somebody with he bites somebody with those ridiculous teeth they have. And I was like, oh, finally. Like, because normally he's all armored up and he's got guns and whatever the fuck. But like, it's just nice to see him like bite somebody. Like, oh, fuck, you can't even get near these things.
Yeah, I mean, most people, when you see that motherfucker's face, steer clear.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not go that close to
That's
crazy
true.
vagina dentata face.
So if we had to, what's your recommendation? See it?
Wait
Till home video?
Wait till like USA on a Sunday afternoon when you're like,
That's a long wait, man.
It's a long wait.
You're asking him to wait 3 years, it sounds like.
you're like, listen, I got some of this beer here, and I was gonna drink it, and Hunt for Red October starts at 6 and it's 3, so I'll just watch the through till I get to the one I want to see.
I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't have seen it at all.
It's true. Here's how you get a
And I
friend.
paid twice.
You get a friend and have him bring you, and then it's great value. I think it's utterly watchable. It's a summer movie, man. Felt like a summer movie, even though the summer just kind of ended and stuff.
Yeah.
But there were reshoots, right? Like
I
that
think
was one of
so.
those delayed movies.
Yeah, where they realized that we don't really have an ending, or this isn't really sticking together, or I guess we got to cut out the sex offender, or yeah.
Way to bring the room down, man. You always got to bring it up. All right, so there it is, man. The Predator review. Okay, man, we're ready to do the real show.
Yeah.
That one was close. We're ready to do the real show.
Yeah, I mean, I have also been playing Spider-Man on
Oh, you got
PS4.
some more upfront shit.
I mean,
do
yeah.
tell. How is it?
I'm only like 45 minutes, an hour in because I've been watching fucking Iron Fist.
Question.
Yes.
When you say you're only 45 minutes to an hour in, I'm not familiar. Is there a, like, it will take 5 hours? Like, do you know how long it'll take?
I don't know how long. What I've heard is the story part of the game is about 15, 20 hours deep. But you could keep playing the game for years if you wanted to.
Are you serious?
The fun of the game, as I've discovered, is just fucking web slinging, man. It is just navigating the city. It is just like shooting webs and swinging and like pivoting and bouncing off of shit and then just running up and down walls. Like, it makes you move the way you feel Spider-Man would move in space. And it lets you control that in an incredibly intuitive way. To the point where you're just like, I could just fucking swing for a while, man. I could just hang out on top of buildings and skydive, and I'm not dying anymore. And then woo, and just woo, just keep doing that all fucking day long.
Meanwhile, your kids are like, you're missing the point, man.
Dad, I won a medal today in water polo. We did really well, but I'm swinging, buddy. I could have come and seen you play, but I got this game here, man.
Deal with it yourself. I'm now a little white boy in Queens.
It's like, look, the sun is setting off the Baxter Building, buddy. I bet you had a really great day, but...
They show the Baxter Building in the game? Really? Yeah. So wait, it's not based on a movie, it's based on,
No, it's
like, Marvel.
Right.
So they have other characters, other landmarks and shit?
I'm assuming, I haven't seen them yet, because they have all of fucking Manhattan.
Wow.
I haven't made it to 221 Bleecker Street yet, but I'm going to go. You just wait.
Do you think there's an address there for it?
There had better be a fucking Sanctum Sanctorum, or what's the point?
True. Wow, man. All right, well, keep us updated for how
I
deep you
will.
go. How is his butt? I hear people like his butt in the game. They're like, his ass is amazing.
It's tight. It's very tight.
Very tight. Yoga buns and shit.
Well, I mean, if you're going to wear a unitard, man, you better fucking have a good ass.
True. I've seen some of our Spider-Man down by the Chinese theater. They do not apply to that rule at all.
No.
Those cats are carrying around some cottage cheese, man. Get ready to throw at the Green Goblin. Fucking.
I've collected all of the junk to put in this trunk. Would you like a picture? Nah, man. So yeah, that's
Sounds like that's spoken like a guy who's had that experience. I've never gotten that close. Have you ever had a run-in with with one of those cats on?
Not on Hollywood, in Times Square. I have.
In Times Square?
Yeah, where it's like, hey, Poochie, I don't really want to take this picture with you. Nah, man, take a fucking picture because it's New York and they're insistent. Like,
yeah, it ends with take a picture.
Yeah,
and you're like,
come on,
all right,
bitch, take a fucking picture. I'm sorry, man. I gotta go to work. No, you don't. I do though. I had a job. Really? Yeah. Can I have a job? No. Take my fucking picture then. All right.
Me and Jay always talk about, like, if shit gets real slow, we'll put on the outfits and go down to Hollywood Boulevard, just hang out in front of the Chinese theater. And that'll be 10. You know, we're going to undercut everybody. We're going to go for $10, which is really only $5 a piece, but whatever, times are tough.
It's like, listen, Bob, I get it, man, but you got to put on some weight.
Yes. They're like, you're the least convincing Silent Bob.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's like some kind of fucking crack addict playing Silent Bob. You got any other upfront
I have no more
adventures? I got one upfront adventure. I am leaving Wednesday to fly to Vancouver to fly with Supergirl. I'm making another episode of Supergirl. Yes. Get to go and play with my friends. I haven't seen them since last year around this time. I think I went to do an episode of Supergirl as well. So that'll be good. I've taken a peek at the script. It's the mid-season finale, I guess, is what they call it. So it's right before the crossover. I forget what position it is. But it's a pretty cool episode, man. So I'll be gone for a little bit. But me and Marc are going to do an episode of Fat Man on Batman.
No, we won't. We will not do an episode of Fat Man on Batman.
It's going to take a while, man. Me and Marc will be doing a Fatman Beyond. It's such a, like, rebranding is always a terrible idea, but you know, I got to remember the name. It'll work.
It's the girlfriend-fiance problem, where you just keep on calling your fiance your girlfriend for like a year, and she fucking hates you for it. You're like, I've been working for this, and you're not gonna give me my fiance? I also didn't marry a black girl, so I don't know why I went there with that.
Stereotyping motherfucker.
I went straight to Tisha Campbell.
Yes. Married a Martin. Yeah, man, Supergirl will be a good time and whatnot. But while we're in Vancouver, Marc will join me, and at the Rio Theater there, we're going to be doing an episode of Fatman Beyond. So there'll be something for people to hear in the podcast feed over the course of the next few weeks.
We'll keep it stoked.
We'll try to keep the fires going for you. But that's all. I think that's all I got for upfront. Other than this, I'm doing. I did yoga on Saturday.
What?
For the first time? Yeah, I've been hiking, running every day and shit. And then last Saturday I did yoga for the first time a week ago, and I fucking hated it. And it's so weird because it seems like it should be so easy. Like, lay on the ground. I'm like, all right. They're like, now do shit. I'm like, what? So, you know, they teach you shit, and then you're learning poses at the same time. It's like, bless you. It's really fucking complicated. Complicated for me was they keep telling you to breathe, and I'm not used to breathing that much, I guess, unless I've got a joint in my mouth. And so, like, they were like, you're not breathing. I was like, I'm alive. I must be fucking breathing, man. But, like, you're not doing it the way you're supposed to. So, you know, about 25 minutes into it, I was really resenting it. And like, I'm never doing this shit again. And then at the end of it, I was like, you know what? I got to face my fears and do it one more time. Yeah. So I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. But this is the charming part of the story.
Okay.
Jason Mewes is coming to do it with me. Yeah. Jay and Silent Bob do yoga. So I'll let you know when we get together next time how that went, man. I'm hoping he brings an orangutan, then we can relive the whole movie adventure together again. But the two of us together, man, could be sitting there salutating the sun and shit.
If you stick with it for like 10 years, you can suck your own dick.
I'm on a schedule of 2 years, Marc. I ain't waiting 10. I want results.
Did you ever see that SNL sketch with Will Ferrell? Who he's playing, it's a whole fucking yoga thing, and he's just a dude sitting on the mat, and he's like, all right, today we're gonna do fucking downward dog, and he's just sitting there, he's got his sweatpants, and he just tucks his head under his sweatpants and goes to fucking town. And the entire class is like, sir, I'm sorry, you can't fucking do that. He's like, listen, I've been practicing yoga for 15 years to get here, and I just fucking got here. I am never gonna not be doing this at yoga. He just goes back under his fucking
That's what I'm gonna hear like when I'm fucking around with my wife tonight is you going like the fucking Hamburglar eating pussy. Birdie the early bird's like, oh. Because I think that's the only girl in McDonaldland, isn't it?
Fuck.
It's like, did you ever think about that? All of McDonaldland,
No.
it's like stocked with men.
And monsters.
Yeah.
Like, unless Grimace is a thing we don't know.
Grimace is what they got rid of the women for. They were like, we'll never need women again. We have this.
A giant butt plug.
It's weird though, man. There's not a single.
It's not about representation. Like
Not
if
at
I'm
all.
if I'm a little girl and I'm hungry, I'm not gonna go to fucking McDonald's. You don't like women.
They didn't even have Burger King. No
Yeah.
representation there either. What was it like to be a young girl at a fast food restaurant in the 70s, man?
It's like, we are going to Wendy's, bitch, right now.
Jeez, that's right. They finally got there. Maybe that's where it came from. Wendy's is like, I see a hole in the marketplace. Girls are being underserved and shit like that.
We can make girls fat too.
All right, man. That's all the upfront news we got?
Only upfront.
Fuck. That means it's time to jump into the first part of the show. The show is divided roughly into two parts. The first part it requires Marc, in his free time before he gets here, to go to the internet, find the latest news, bring it back alive. And he's done that, man. Give it up for Marc. He's brought you the news.
I have done my best cut and pasting this week.
Yeah.
I truly
Work
have.
smarter, not harder. That's what I say. I see two silver pens, but I don't see a black Sharpie. Anybody got a black Sharpie? Yeah. Meanwhile, you go. I'm sorry.
All right, I'll
I'm having
go.
conversations over here.
So hey, there was some DC Universe movie news this past week.
Big DC Universe movie news, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
And shocking and confusing as we still don't know the real story. Go ahead.
John Hamm really wants to be Batman.
Oh, that's what you're beginning with.
Well, as Batman did.
Yeah, then that's true. Good point. I'm gonna cap this marker and pay close attention. I roll deep on John Hamm as Batman. I think that's a brilliant idea. I've been saying it for fucking years. I've been saying, like, even when they cast Ben, I was like, look, he's great, and yeah, he'll do a great job, but fuck, John Hamm was right there and stuff. So it looks like he was on a sports show.
Yeah, he did an interview with a guy named Graham Bensinger in London, I think. And he says, it depends on the script, what the story is. I am a huge comic book fan, always have been. I've read comic books since I was 9 or younger. And I'm pretty knowledgeable about a lot of them. And I like the genre, and I like when they're done well. He's never been offered anything, but I think the internet wants what it wants. Truer words have never been spoken.
It's very true. I saw the clip, and he said, like, I've been in the rooms with the people that give those jobs and make those decisions, and never once have they been like, we want you to be in Batman. So he says, but clearly the internet wants it.
Totally.
Keep wanting it.
And he would be down for it.
Oh my God, he's so Bruce Wayne. He's more Bruce Wayne than Bruce Wayne. Like, and put that fucking suit on that guy or a stunt person, it'll be fucking fantastic. I mean, that's what they do. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think I support that 100%. I hope to God. Matt Reeves, is that who's doing the?
Yeah.
But it sounds like he's doing a younger, or maybe not younger, but like he ain't doing the DC extended universe. He's not doing Batfleck.
No.
So it doesn't sound like Hamm could be Bat Hamm for him.
Probably not. But it's still unclear precisely what Matt Reeves' Batman is and whether that is the Batman that we would see in maybe his cameo in the next couple of Wonder Woman movies, given that those are never going to stop happening. And
Do you think they'll put other heroes into those Wonder Woman movies? You think they'll bring in a Batman or a Superman cameo? It never occurred to me. I guess they could. But it just would seem pointless because they're doing well so far. I guess maybe you wait until it sags and then you're like, hey, look who stopped by. It's my buddy Batman. You know,
I think
or
it's
something like
less trying to prop up the Wonder Woman movies with other heroes, but introduce other heroes in the Wonder Woman movies.
I don't know if they're interested. Well, I mean, maybe, but they don't seem interested in doing a universe anymore. They just seem interested in going back to the way they used to do things, which was like, we're just going to pick movies to make, and we're going to make those movies.
It could be.
They won't necessarily be connected anymore.
They might not be, but they still could be because you still have there was a Justice League movie that had a Wonder Woman in it.
Yeah.
So that
And
is
that Wonder Woman, no less.
And that Wonder
And
Woman.
also that Aquaman, who is also coming very soon.
Totally. So
It's wow, what a weird fucking mess it is at this point. Because you had a Batman, you had a Superman, and for all we know, they're both gone, as we'll get to the next story. And now the other members of the Justice League, they're going to keep going, each one getting their own movies. Wonder Woman now getting her second, Aquaman getting his first, and the Flash movie, apparently with Ezra Miller, is happening next year. So, you know, what are they going to do? Like, well, I guess they can never be like, hey, let's ask Batman for help. They're like, shh. Ixnay, you know.
Or they just recast him and pretend like it never happened. You know, which is, I mean.
So just James Bond it?
Just fucking James Bond it. Or just Batman it. It's like, oh, here's another fucking guy. We're just watching another movie.
Yeah.
You know, and that happened to be the guy who changed, but that's fine. You know, but I think that using Wonder Woman as the one that works, as the beachhead for everything else.
Is smart.
Kind of makes sense. But yes, John Hamm is down. I'd have to work out a lot, he says, which I don't love.
Why would he? He's already cut from God's own wood. Like fucking, how much more in shape could you get? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, man.
Yeah, but he's not making a TV show right now, so.
Oh, you think he's put on like a bunch of pounds and stuff?
I mean, if you don't have to work out, which clearly he doesn't love doing, I bet you he's not.
Excellent point.
Thanks, counselor.
I hope to God that happens. That would excite me no end. I think that would be a great marriage of actor and material. Probably the best.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing arguing against it is he's a little bit older than I think they'd like their Batman to be.
It's true. How old is he at this point?
He's mid-40s, I think.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No, I'm mid-40s. I would imagine he's younger than me. Maybe not. I would hate to find out we were the same age and that I could look like that if I tried.
Dude,
like,
I am.
How old? We are I'm 48.
Hey.
I'm a little older. That's why I look this way.
Yeah, no. Motherfucker Idris Elba is 46.
Is he really?
Yeah. That's not fair to anybody else who's 46.
No, yeah. And he's going to look like that until the day he dies as well.
I once had an opportunity to interview him for the Hollywood Reporter, and they were like, hey, because I pitched a big fucking Idris Elba story, and they're like, do you want to interview him? I said, I can't.
Why?
I can't be in that room with that dude. Like, my ego would not survive the hit of knowing that he and I were born the same fucking time. We have mostly the same fucking genes, and I ended up like this, and he ended up like that. Like, I can't, go back to my life knowing what I now know.
Yeah, but I bet you'd leave the meeting and he'd be depressed because he's like, I can't write a comic book.
Yeah, but also, I've never had to write a comic book to get laid because I look like this.
Wait, you write comic books to get laid?
I do whatever I can.
There are much
man.
easier ways to get laid, man.
I've never had to be funny or smart or witty or anything because I look like this. Said Idris Elba. Yes. Oh, because I've had to be all of those things because I look like this.
If you called somebody and told them you were Idris Elba, could you pull it off?
I could Black Klansman that shit as long as I don't have to show up.
Let's close our eyes. Go ahead. You try to be Idris Elba. Bring us there, Luther.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a great
what I
line.
need.
That's a great line, man. Nate threw you the line. Do that one.
Fuck. I'm trying to.
Here, you want me to warm you up?
Yeah, warm me up.
This is Idris Elba in Luther. Alice. There you go. There's your warm up.
What? Just not helpful at all.
Sorry.
I'm waiting for the line. I need the line. And Castle Apocalypse is the end of that. I need the run, and I don't have the run.
Who's got the exact line? Nate, pull it up. It is something like, today we cancel the apocalypse.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you're a Luther at this point.
Did you find it? It's coming. It's coming up now, Con. It's my favorite delivery in Star Trek 2.
It's great.
When he's just like, hurry! And he's got a glass on. It's coming up now, Con. Like in a very, almost like a secretary kind of way. What do you got?
All right. Oh, shit, the whole
sure
thing.
Is bold.
At the edge of our hope At the end of our time, we have chosen not only to believe in ourselves, but in each other. Today there's not a man nor a woman in here that shall stand alone. Not today. Today we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
It's not bad.
Not
man.
bad, I mean, it gets a little wibbly wobbly.
The takeoff was very wobbly, but you stuck the fucking landing, man. That's the important part. That's all anybody remembers.
You're going to get all of this happening. You're going to get this fucking in your throat.
That's good.
You all right?
That was good. Now say Odin's son.
Odin's son.
Yeah. Fuck. Do you think he gets to come back? Like
died.
if he, well,
Yeah.
They all fucking died, Mark.
But he didn't ash away.
Yeah,
like he
but-
died for real. He wasn't snapped.
So
He
that
was-
means Loki ain't coming back?
in my gut, I feel like that's the rule. Like if you died for real, then you don't come back.
If you turn into dust. You say Loki was a mirage? Who said that? He says he's right-handed. Hold on, this is fucking important right here. Everybody shut the fuck up, man. You've got a point. Because I'm sitting there watching. I rewatched the Infinity War again last night, and I was like, I can't believe they fucking killed Loki. Go ahead, man. You're stand up, son. Take this microphone. Tell us your name. What's your name?
My name is Scott Hawkinson.
Everyone give it up for Scott. Where's the mic? Oh, JC's busy. All right, take this mic. Just tell us your theory.
So you can re-watch clips from Infinity War, and they show Loki's hand the whole time. And the whole time his hand is right here by his hip. It looks like...
Come this way. Turn around and look that way.
Yeah, so the whole time you can re-watch Infinity War. I've seen this clip where Loki's left hand is to his side. It looks like he's holding a dagger the entire time. His hand never changes till he goes and approaches Thanos and, that whole line and then reaches for him. But everybody thinks that in the theory they have, he's right-handed. In every other clip that he actually stabs people, it's in his right hand. He uses his left hand, gets frozen. Thanos knew he was joking the whole time about it.
All right.
I'm gonna forgive the fact you called him Thanos, and because that's a strong theory. So it could be that he was being a trickster yet again.
He did say to Thor, the sun will shine on us again.
That's right. That's what I fucking last night, man. I rewound. It's so fucked up. We gotta watch it together. Last night when I was watching it, that's the line I hung on, which is where he goes, "The sun will shine on us again, brother." And then he gets killed, and Thor should have been like, "I guess you were wrong, fuck." But he doesn't, and that made me think like maybe there is a play here and stuff. Dramatic irony. Oh, so he is dead, you're saying? I like his version better. Don't kill that guy. He was so good. And he was just becoming a good guy, too. Like Loki. The super Loki. Anyway. All right. So where were we? Fuck. We really got off track.
We derailed a bit, but in a
did.
good way.
Just a touch.
John Hamm, Batman. Yeah.
John Hamm, Batman. All for it, man.
Yeah.
But fuck, now I'm going to go watch it again just to watch the knife hand and shit.
Oh, like you weren't going to watch it again anyway.
I know.
Like you needed some fancy-ass excuse.
Now I'm going to watch it again because it's Saturday. It's utterly fucking watchable, man. It may be, I think, of right up there, shoulder to shoulder with Iron Man. I think of all the Marvel movies, the first Iron Man is utterly rewatchable. Like you can watch it, and then when it's over, you can start again. It's a fantastic, human adventure. And I think this, Infinity War, is the same thing. Like it ends, and I'm like, I just want to see Tony Stark in the Sanctum Sanctorum as it dawns on him that his nightmare is coming true. I think that's I think Robert Downey Jr. is wonderful in all those movies, but that performance is unsung because if you watch all those movies tied together, he's been scared about this motherfucker since Avengers, and it comes to play. That's why my favorite moment in that movie is when Thanos says. Get a little of that Thanal. Is when he goes Stark and he goes, "You know me?" And he goes, "I do." His delivery is so fucking dope, man. And he's like, you're not the only one cursed with knowledge. Just the idea that he fucking knew about this Earthman and shit like that. That performance is fucking magic. It's really, really good. They won't ever give that dude an Oscar for that role.
No.
But they should. Fuck these categories of like best popular movie. They should have an Oscar category that's like, we're sorry we fucked up. We never noticed how amazing you were and shit. And then they could give you a retroactive Oscar. Or let's say you play a character more than 3 times. You should win an Oscar, like getting a set of steak knives or something like that. Because they would give one to Robert Downey Jr. That performance is so fucking good. That's why when he got fucking stabbed in Infinity War, and I saw it in the theater, I was like, no! Like I leaned forward and fucking screamed and shit. And every time I watch it at home, he gets stabbed. And I know what's going to happen and shit. And I'm still like, oh my God. And then I remember, I'm like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Calm the dogs down and shit like that.
I watched it again, not nearly as many times as you have. But I remain astonished by how much I'm in love with Chris Hemsworth Thor.
Yeah.
Now, in ways that I wasn't before.
Yeah.
But this weird mixture of like the war-weary gravity plus kind of just fucking funny and hilarious.
Right.
But watching him, I mean, Ragnarok was the kickoff, but watching him acknowledge how tragic his life has been with a smile is amazing.
As he goes through his family and
Totally.
fucking everything he's
like,
done.
You know, I've fought bastards from here to the other side of the galaxy. It's basically Idris Elba, so just roll with me. It's my all-purpose fucking British accent. Alice. And it's like, you know, everybody that I've ever met like has either died or that I've killed, and the ones that I hadn't killed always want a piece of me, and I'll keep going, and maybe one of them will get me, maybe they won't, but I gotta keep trying, I gotta keep moving. Just that sense that his life is filled with mortality, and he has no choice but to kind of smile at it, because otherwise he would never get out of bed.
You know what it seems like? It seems like over the course of those Marvel movies, they've figured out that he's got great range. They're like, oh my God, we could play this guy like a fiddle. Like, you know, we keep trying to cast him into one mold of like, be fucking Thor. But instead, they were like, let's use all this charming shit he's good at and craft that onto Thor. Like, add his DNA to it, not vice versa. It's kind of a smart decision. I hope he keeps going. I mean, the way you were just talking about is true. He's almost, that whole movie is almost like one long, I'm ready for death monologue.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't fucking kill him off. I was going to say, they can. He's a god, but we watched Loki get killed, but then you said he might not be killed, so these fucking movies, man. They really take up a lot of headspace in my life and shit. Stop caring about real people because I give a fuck about fictional characters and shit. All right, where to next?
Fucking Henry Cavill.
That's the big news of the week.
That's
More
the big
so
news
than
of the
Bad
week.
Hamm, I would imagine, is this Henry Cavill news, which is puzzling because it's not been confirmed. But meanwhile, tell them what's going on so far.
Well, what apparently has happened is that Warner Brothers has decided not to develop any more Superman movies.
Which, sidebar, that's a mistake. I think you need to keep your big guy vital. This is the very first superhero ever created, the king of the superheroes, if you will, the one that paved the way for everybody else. While we're in this, you know, amazing era, this renaissance of comic book movies, don't leave your best guy on the bench. Just fucking hand it to somebody who's going to make it what everybody knows that character to be. The character is a symbol of hope, man. Like, go back and watch 10 minutes of a Christopher Reeve Superman and use that as the DNA for what they do going forward, man. It's not about like some Christ parable or he's this fucking alien from another world. He's just a good fucking dude. It's that simple. You can make a movie about a good fucking dude. I rewatched Superman on the app. They're playing Superman the movie. So I rewatched him saving Lois Lane, the sequence with the helicopter and shit like that. And then his first flight, and he goes and, you know, stops the bank robbers. Like his first night in Metropolis. I don't say this because I was a boy when I saw it in 1978. It reminds me of like being a child. Yes, of course, that's mixed up in it. But I'm purported to be a storyteller for a living from time to time and stuff. And as that person, it's so insanely wonderfully crafted and tells you so much about what that character is. One montage of him doing shit. Like when you think about Man of Steel, and this ain't me bitching or about it or shitting on it or trying to lower it, but like, you know, remember the scene where Superman fights with the dudes in the bar, like throw a drink in his face, and then he fucks up their 18-wheelers with telephone poles or whatever the fuck it is. Like that tells a story, right? Like, yeah, hey man, he's strong, but it also tells a story of like, that's kind of fucking petty. Like, you know, I know he's not quite Superman yet. He's on the road to being Superman, so he can get away with stuff like that. But like the Christopher Reeve, the Dick Donner version of Superman is just so beautiful and so simple. And that character is beautiful and simple, but not simple like he's stupid, but simple that it can appeal to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I like the notion that, I don't know if it was a rumor or whatnot, but they were saying, hey, Michael B. Jordan is Superman. Great. Get somebody in the fucking outfit. Don't put him on the fucking bench. Don't be like, we're doing Supergirls, if they just discovered they had this other character and stuff. Do your Supergirl movie, absolutely. But Superman, like, this is an icon. You know, the same way you've always got a Batman movie in production, should be a Superman movie in production as well. If it's not Henry Cavill, like, there's a lot of other people that can wear that cape. But they should not be shelving their biggest character at this point in time. That's what I think, but I don't run the studio.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be afraid of what Superman is. You know, which to me is kind of what Man of Steel was, kind of what Justice League was, but what, ironically, Captain America isn't.
Yes!
You can just tell a straight up fucking good person and not have to look askance at it, not have to like temper it with some semblance of grit and realism. Just have him be a fucking dude who flies, who believes in the good thing because he was raised by good people.
And I understand we live in a different world now, a more cynical world, and bad, shitty things are happening all the time. But, you know, they did that with Captain America.
Yeah.
Like, they had a guy who was fucking true blue and shit like that, and then slowly realizes the world around him is not the world he became Captain America in and stuff. So even he's at odds with his environment and or government. But nobody ever like says these Marvel movies are, you know, fucking anti-government or something. But truly, Captain America has a problem with the government. The government is run by, you know, fucking Hydra, so they get away with it that way. But they're telling compelling stories.
Because it's fiction.
Because it's, yes. Thank God that could never happen here, Hell Hydra. But like they're telling this pretty compelling story about essentially a Boy Scout, a do-gooder. I was never a big Captain America fan for that reason. It's like, it's fucking boring, man. It's just like this person. But they wound up telling a story where I'm like, wow, they made him human, and it's more about him being the man inside the hero, not the super so much as the hero and stuff. So they could do that with Superman. You're right. They shouldn't be afraid of the character. They shouldn't even be afraid of the like truth. Like everywhere now, it's we'll do truth and justice, but we can't fucking do the American way. And I'm not sitting here standing up for like, hey man, America and shit. Like the people that got mad at Ryan Gosling because there's no flag in the Moonshot movie they did and stuff. Not saying that, but this is a part of this character's DNA. He wears the colors of the country and stuff. You should just lean into that. You know, it's real fucking simple. And you want to talk about bridging a divide? If you get a Superman movie right, you got fucking, you know, conservatives and liberals at the end of the day. Because here's a bleeding heart fucking liberal, if ever there was one, this fucking Superman, pulling cats out of trees and shit like that. But he's like the strongest symbol for America since like the bald eagle. So I would be working on that. I'd be working on a movie that could bring a divided country together under the fucking auspices of a character that has been proven time and time again for decades to be enjoyable to multiple people.
Yes. And whatever it costs, you get Brad Bird to make that movie.
Fuck yes. Yes.
Whatever it fucking costs.
God damn it. There's somebody who understands the superhero psyche very well and has made very human superhero movies and stuff. All-Star Superman they could do, absolutely. All right, so finish the story about Henry Cavill.
So they are not developing any more superhero movies. And I think, you know, and with that comes Superman movies.
Superman.
And with that comes the releasing of Henry Cavill from his contract, which he wasn't really adhering to, given they wanted him for a cameo in Shazam.
I'd heard that they wanted him to pop up toward the end of the movie to
and he
like
couldn't
give Shazam, the Captain Marvel, or Shazam rather, the blessing.
Right.
But he's not doing it.
You know, so it seems as if he is a little bit of a casualty of the fact that DC's first real push into connected universe-dom didn't work the way they wanted it to. And that he was partially the keystone of the first leg of that particular run.
He was, to be fair. Man of Steel begins the Snyderverse.
Totally. But yeah, so I feel bad for him because I like Henry Cavill quite a bit. Like, I think he fucking reloaded his arms in Mission Impossible Fallout. You know, and Man from U.N.C.L.E. is super enjoyable.
You've
He's
said that
really-
a few times. You enjoy
He's
that movie.
really fucking charming in that. I think he's a fantastic actor, but I don't think that these were the best the Superman movies for him, because they never required him to be charming.
Well, they gave him one.
They gave him
One movie, and then the next movie was supposed to be his, but then that became a backdoor Batman movie.
Right. You know, so I think they
And
sort
then the
of,
last one was Justice League. And
which he's
that
dead
is,
for half of.
Yeah, he's barely in it. He's in the last like 15, 20 minutes or something.
Yeah. So I don't think we've ever seen truly what his Superman would be. And I feel like we're being short shrifted a little bit as an audience, and I definitely feel like he was as an actor, because there's a world in which that dude has a ton of range, and looks the part, and could be the magnetic Superman you always wanted but never got.
Now they have no intention of doing a Man of Steel 2, obviously, or anything like that.
I don't think so. They're deep and hard on Supergirl.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, the Henry story is so upfront that you wind up talking about that. But let's just take a step back and say, pourquoi? Supergirl? Like, they already have one of those, and it's quite good. But it smells like they're doing what they did with Flash, which is like, well, that's, the TV show. We're going to have our own Supergirl thing. I mean, if I'm Greg Berlanti, I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
let me have it.
yeah.
Let me do this for you.
The
I've done
one
it for them.
One thing I did hear though was that apparently Brainiac is going to be the villain of this Supergirl movie. Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
What about Elrond? He might be in there, I guess. We'll see. Yeah. So that's kind of the story behind the story, is that no Superman movie, but Supergirl is moving forward.
They want flights and tights. They just don't want that dude.
And I'm all for it. I'm all for a Supergirl movie, but at the same time, I'm heading up to make a Supergirl movie this week. It'd be nice if they were like, yeah, we're just gonna take Melissa, but it doesn't seem like that's a conversation. They should. She's fantastic. But it's probably not going to be the case.
Probably not going to be the case. If they got an Ezra and they didn't do Grant, they're going to get somebody that's not Melissa.
Now, I wonder if that puts a ticking clock on the TV show. Because they haven't, they've got a Flash in Justice League, but they don't have a movie called The Flash while there's a TV show called The Flash.
Right.
But, if The Flash keeps going and the Flash movie is 2019, then at one point there will be a TV version you could pick from and a cinematic version you could pick from. Which, unless Supergirl ends anytime soon, which ratings-wise that doesn't seem to be the case, then at one point there's going to be a Supergirl TV show on the air and a completely different Supergirl movie in the theaters. Wise or no? If you were in charge, would you do that?
I would not do that. I feel like that is offering people a reason to stay home. We're just like, hey, if I just want to scratch this itch of seeing a girl in a miniskirt and a cape fly around, I get it here for free. Every week.
Or if I want to see the guy in the red outfit run real fast to solve all his problems, I could do it right here.
Yeah.
So do you think then, reverse engineering this conversation, that
They cancel the shows before those movies start?
they couldn't do that?
They still make money.
I mean, they're two different and completely different divisions. One is Warner TV, and they output through CW and stuff. And they go by a completely different model. It's based on the commercial model, advertising. And no, I guess they couldn't, but seems weird to have two of the same out there.
It does. It's marketplace confusion. You know, it's which one. I want to go see Supergirl. Which one? Where? Why? Okay, why are you choosing that one? I don't know. It's bigger, I guess. Yeah, I don't quite get it. And there's too much money in the TV shows. There's, over the course of Supergirl, over the course of The Flash, will make more money than a single one of those movies will.
Probably, yeah, because they get to sell it over and over again to a bunch of countries, and it's more than one movie. It's like, here's 22 hours per season. Here's a couple fucking seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's billions of dollars if those things are a hit, which they are.
The hardcore, loyal Berlantiverse fan and/or employee in me doesn't, is like, oh man, why would you do that? But the comic book aficionado in me is like, ooh, we're gonna have a Supergirl movie with Brainiac in it. So I'm of two minds of the subject. I'd like it a lot more if they used the Supergirl that I'm familiar with, but doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. They've not said anything either way, but if it's anything like the Flash movie,
Right.
then they're just heading in their own direction.
Yeah. So
but back to Henry, he's out of a job, but not out of a job because he's on that show, the Netflix show, The Witcher. Remember we talked about it here last week?
He knew something that we didn't know.
Apparently he did that early on. And then he put up a video on Instagram yesterday with Blue Danube playing, and he was wearing a Krypton Phys Ed shirt, and then he lifted a Superman doll into the frame and never said anything and then lowered it. It was like something out of a fucking David Lynch movie. I'm not quite sure what it was about, but I don't know if it, and the caption was something like "Today was interesting" or something. So I don't know if that's him going, "Yeah, I'm not playing Superman anymore," or if he's going, "No, I'm still Superman,"
or he's a hostage.
I hadn't thought of that. I should be looking for the blinks.
There's this proof of life, like not dead yet.
All right, so yeah, that's big shakeup for the DC movie universe, but at the same time, not so big a shakeup. It's just more really confirmation of what we all assumed, is that they're not interested in making another Superman movie at this point.
Right. Or another Justice League movie as we know it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
we knew that the moment the movie came out. We could all pretty much assume they were done there. But they've got a robust schedule coming, man. Aquaman looks fucking amazing. Wonder Woman, what is it, 1984 or 85?
84.
Wonder Woman 84. Soon we'll be seeing, I imagine, an image of Kristen Wiig dressed as Cheetah. That's going to be fantastic. Another reason to stay alive in this horrible world. There's some good, and that Shazam trailer, it looks more and more charming every time I watch it. I mean, but I'm real fucking mad. That would have been a cool cameo to have fucking Superman pop in at the end, and he's like, "You're Superman," and like tie the universe together.
There's a great beat in the comic. I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. I've just seen these pages online of when Superman goes to the wizard to inquire why the fuck you would do this to a boy. Because Superman, of course, gives a shit about Billy Batson.
Right.
Like, why would you make this 10-year-old boy act like an adult? Why don't you let him be a boy? Why are you going to burden a child with this much power and this much of a secret? He's like, well, the magic has rules. He's like, I've heard enough of your fucking rules. Like, that's a child, and you're endangering a child. And that kid is alone, and he's scared. And then the next scene...
And the wizard's like, "Go talk to Batman, motherfucker."
But then the next scene is Clark Kent finds Billy Batson in the fucking like tenement building he's squatting in, because again, he's a fucking orphan. Mm-hmm. And he goes, sits down next to him, and Billy's a little fucking jittery. And he's like, listen, I know what it's like to have a secret that you can't tell anybody. If you ever want to talk, if you ever need anybody to lean on, if it's ever too much for you, you can talk to me. He's like, why the fuck should I trust you? And then he opens his shirt and just shows the Superman logo. And it's like, if that was that fucking cameo, then I'm sad it couldn't happen.
You just made me cry. God, that's really fucking beautiful.
It's awesome. Like the righteous anger of a god upset at the endangering of a child is kind of lovely.
Yeah. He didn't hear the Teen Titans, I guess.
Well,
all right.
Selective amnesia.
Enough about Henry Cavill, man. What's next?
You've heard of this young filmmaker, Jordan Peele?
Yes.
He is choosing the next constellation in which he's going to get involved in, and he seems to have set his eyes on Candyman.
Oh!
Yeah.
The Tony Todd movie?
The Tony Todd movie.
Was that a Clive Barker thing or no? Can't remember.
Yes.
It was, I believe,
It was.
Clive Barker thing.
Based on, it was 1992, that movie was. But it's super, I mean, knowing what the because I forgot, I haven't seen that movie in like 20 years.
If I remember correctly, it took place in the Cabrini Green tenements in Illinois, in Chicago, and he was kind of like the Bloody Mary, right? You say his name 3 times, he appears.
Right. The Candyman was an artist and son of a slave who had his hand severed and then murdered by bees, because that happens.
Oh, that's right. There were bees involved.
Yeah.
That sounded more like a note from a fucking studio meeting. Like, my kid got stung by a bee the other day, and it fucking really killed, man. Put bees in the movie.
What if the bees formed a giant spider?
John Peters.
But yeah, like if that's the origin story of that guy, an ex-slave murdered by the father of a former lover and hands severed and lynched, is now haunting this fucking place, and you say his name 3 times, he comes and exacts vengeance. Timely, and that's from the maker of Get Out. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, makes sense. Good pairing.
Yeah, so he hasn't signed on yet, but he's circling and interested, and he's also making a Twilight Zone show at some point, and he's currently shooting his new movie Us, which nobody knows anything about.
And also, wasn't he doing something with JJ?
Yeah, Lovecraft County.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's busy. He's the kind of busy that you get when you have a giant hit and people offer you shit and you say yes.
And he's also creative. It always has been, right? So
Yeah.
it's like right in his wheelhouse. Now people are coming to him instead of him going like, "Hey, could you help me with this?"
Mm-hmm.
So good for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'd see that.
Totally. And the last thing I have is that yesterday, I think, or maybe it was Tuesday. I can't remember how DVD releases go anymore. But
Tuesday.
Is it? I thought they pushed it to Fridays.
Did they?
I don't know. Solo came out
Oh.
this week. And
Did it? Already?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Digitally. That's right. So it's not
There
on
it
Blu-ray and stuff, but you can watch it on iTunes.
You can watch it on iTunes.
Oh, shit. I know what I'm doing tonight.
And the co-screenwriter, John Kasdan, went on Twitter,
Lawrence Kasdan's kid.
Lawrence Kasdan's kid, and posted 52 useless solo factoids and tidbits for anyone who's interested.
I'm interested.
I know. So we will not read all 52 of them because
Okay.
all of them some of them are just like, we like this location because we wintered up there as the Kasdan family, so we wanted to make it kind of wintry.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
Isn't
But you're
it,
right.
though?
We don't
Don't
need
give
to
a
know
shit.
that. You can read the rest of that online. You're picking the gold, the gems.
I've picked the gold.
Like
I've
number
winnowed it-
1, he's like, here's something you didn't know. People didn't like this movie. I did, though. I enjoyed so. I look forward to watching it again.
Yeah.
Him meeting Chewie is a fantastic scene worthy of any Star Wars movie in the entire canon. Like, it's their Darth Vader Rogue One scene of that movie is Han meeting Chewie. It's really wonderful.
Fancy you say that. Number 13 on the list, Miller and Lord had the idea that Chewie would be the Beast, a punishment for disobedient soldiers, and I suppose droids, on Mimban. They also had the brilliant idea to have Han, at the crucial moment, speak Shrillywook.
That came from Lord and Miller, and they kept that in the movie?
The mud pit is pure Lord and Miller, and for my money, it's one of the best scenes in the movie.
It is. It really is. That's wow, and that's generous of him as the screenwriter to give that up too. So what he's saying is the 2 boys who made the 21 Jump Street movies and the brilliant Lego movie, they originally made a Solo, and then they got fired, and then Ron Howard remade it. But apparently that sequence remains intact, and that was their idea and stuff. It was a great fucking scene. And it's cool where he speaks Wookiee at one point. You're like, oh, they're going to be friends.
Let's see, number 10. Lawrence Kasdan and I, he abbreviates LK as opposed to Dad, which you could also do Dad because we get it.
Right.
And I fought long and hard for Han's stint and expulsion from the Imperial Academy. We felt it was crucial to see him train as a pilot. Ultimately, though, it was always a hindrance to the flow of the story, which consistently felt like it didn't really take off until Chewie arrived in the movie.
I don't know if I agree that the movie doesn't take off till Chewie gets there, but until you mentioned that he was an Imperial soldier, I completely forgot about that aspect of the story. So he's right, it didn't really do much.
Yeah, we go straight to him being in war, apparently post-academy.
Right.
But I kind of would have liked to see that.
Yeah, him training
Yeah.
and stuff.
Number
It
17.
wasn't a bad color to throw into the story of Han Solo. Like, he was trained by Imperials. But there was also something kind of nice about, hey man, I don't go in for any of that shit, like from the first Star Wars movie.
Right.
But I see how it makes sense they try to tie it in.
In retrospect, Tandy Newton may actually have been too good and too interesting as
Who?
Val. Tandy Newton
She was too good or too interesting?
as Val, as Woody Harrelson's girlfriend
Right.
/ compatriot.
Because they killed her? Is that why
Yeah.
he's saying that?
It was always in the design of the story that Beckett would lose his trusted crew members during the conveyance job gone wrong and be forced to rely on newbies, Han and Chewie. And this would also open the door for Lando, Kira, and L3 to join the crew. But Tandy is so compelling to watch that the death of her character feels like a cheat. It's an odd and unexpected problem that comes with working with such amazing, compelling actors in the Star Wars universe. You just want more of them.
I guess it might also just be like, hey, it's her from Westwood, and she's gone. So, it's like seeing somebody, you're like, all right, they're cast for a reason, but then they don't really kind of let them be the star of the show. Right. Might have been better she did a great job in that role, but I think his problem, or the problem he's talking about, the interesting problem, would have been easiest solved if an unknown had played that role. But since you put somebody in the role that everybody knows, particularly from a show that's very popular right now, I guess people are like, yeah, man, she can go out on fire and stuff. But that was something we were talking about after The Predator. Sterling K. Brown, I'm not going to spoil it, but he goes out in the movie in a weird, well, I guess that is a spoiler.
Whoops.
But he goes out in a really wait, is that guy gone? Is it over?
He's just not here anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of fast.
25. At this point, it goes without saying, but Donald Glover was born to play Lando. I remember the thrill of seeing his screen test, then the thrill of watching Bob Iger and Alan Horn watch his screen test, all of us knowing how much fun it was going to be and that he would steal each and every scene he was in. This was before Atlanta or Awaken My Love, but after Community. In my opinion, Donald needs to don the cape again, and the sooner the better.
I mean, look, I'd agree with him. I'd watch a Lando movie, but I watched the Solo movie. The problem was not a lot of people watched it with me. So, but he seems to have a great many fans. I mean, shit, let him direct the movie, or let whoever directed the videos, his last 2 videos, direct the movie, because they certainly know how to catch attention.
Yeah, but it's always fascinating to me when people get cast before they did the things we think they're famous for. Like, Hemsworth was cast for, what the fuck was it? Star Trek? No, Cabin in the Woods, before he had done
was
the
in
Star
Thor?
Trek thing.
Before Star Trek.
Before Star Trek, and way before Thor. But JJ had never seen Cabin in the Woods when he cast him for Trek. He was just like, oh, this guy, I guess he's good. Bring him by. I suppose we'll take a look at him. And then, oh shit, that guy's a fucking hero. He should be George Kirk. Absolutely should be George Kirk. With none of the other shit that we had in our background going into it. Just, he looks good.
That's
I
crazy.
Like Donald Glover. I guess he's funny and handsome, maybe. I guess that's what we want for Lando, never having seen Atlanta, where he's phenomenal.
So, pre that show.
Yeah.
Back to the list.
Back to the list. Blah, 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 blah. Number 32, The Maelstrom. This is another idea that stuck from the first draft. Trying to solve the problem of how to make the Kessel Run visually interesting, inventive, and at least somewhat logical weighed heavy on all of us throughout the process. It was something we discussed endlessly and knew we would never satisfy everyone, and specifically never satisfy Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
We wanted a Jules Verne flavor, and we loved the idea of a storm in space and what that might look like. The Hubble image of the pillars of creation was a huge influence in the concept. ILM did tests in which there were blow-up canisters of different colored powder, and photographed the explosion in slow-mo, blah, 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 blah. I did not think the Kessel Run was visually interesting. That's just me.
I remember them saying Kessel Run, but I don't remember the particulars. I will when I rewatch it tonight, but it didn't lodge in my memory. Was there a storm?
Yeah, it was a big fucking tunnel of clouds and shit, and then once you got out of that tunnel, there were like planets just smashing into each other and giant octopus creatures living in the storm, maybe?
It's vague. It has a vague memory, but I have a vague memory, but also sounds like Galactus in that Fantastic Four movie. Just like, he's a bad cloud.
Yeah. So they somehow rendered the Kessel Run to something you don't even remember seeing.
Yeah, but to be fair, right, that was always going to be tough to match what your imagination for whatever you've heard that term your whole life, and you never saw the Kessel Run. And so it was a tough hurdle to clear, going like, well, all right, I guess that works. Wasn't bad, though. I wasn't like, oh, my God, they butchered, they pissed on. What an abortion that scene was. Not at all. It was totally fine. But I don't remember much of it at all.
Number 37. Would the movie have made more money if it had just been 2 hours of Lando dictating his memoirs to his holo recorder? Perhaps. You live and you learn.
He wrote that?
Yeah. 39. I wish there was a special feature where you see Beckett toss aside the Tantal armor and Gundar Tusk mask he uses as a disguise on Kessel, then just settle into a time-lapse shot of that gear lying in a closet in the Falcon for like 15 years until Lando picks it up and wears it as a disguise for himself at Jabba's palace. And if you're wondering why or objecting to how interconnected the movie is with the others, it's because that's the kind of nonsense I think about.
I liked that moment. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool when he had the skiff guard outfit.
I totally didn't notice it.
I did.
saw
When
it.
I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh shit, that's Lando's outfit.
Number 41. Does the movie work? I'm not the person to ask, but here's what I think does work. The moment when Han jumps into the pilot seat of the Falcon for the first time. It's directed beautifully. Alden nails every moment and look, and unless you're actively resisting it, John Powell's perfect cue will make your heart swell. That moment is as good as this movie gets, in my opinion.
I mean, sure, but I don't remember that as much as I remember Han meeting Chewie or Han meeting Chewie. You? Do you remember this moment?
I
he's
do.
talking about?
I do. And it works. It does work. To me, I'm not going to say not much of the movie does work. Because when we talked about it, it's like, no, it's a perfectly serviceable movie.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments in it that I love. I don't particularly remember that one as one of them, but I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck it. That's cool.
Right.
Let's see. For number 47.
How many of these did he write?
52.
Fuck.
In many...
And they're long.
In many drafts of the script, Enfys Nest's number 2 was Bosk, who abandoned her at the end of the movie, as he is truly a soldier of fortune. This was another thing I fought long and hard to keep, but it was ultimately overruled.
Why? Who overruled it?
Maybe his dad.
They referenced Bosk at one point.
Yeah.
That would
But that would have been
though.
cool.
Especially because you could pull that character off like, it was a mask. So it's not like, oh, we got the guy who played Bosk, but he's 92. Like, you just put that fucking reptile mask on somebody, anybody's there.
I'll get you, you rebel kids. 51. If you felt like it was just a cheap stunt, and I suppose that's fair, but the truth is, Darth Maul was built into the design of Solo in many subtle ways.
I didn't think it was a cheap stunt. I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't think it was cheap.
The name Crimson Dawn, the artifacts in Dryden Study, and Kira's use of Terrace Cassie. Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. Maul is my favorite character from the prequel trilogy. I love that Dave Filoni brought him back and expanded on his story in Clone Wars and Rebels. I love that there is at least some continuity between the shows and the movies. For me, Maul was designed to pass through Solo as the ultimate Star Wars Kaiser Soze.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I like that he was in there. He was the big bad, like he's the boss, her boss, right, at the end of the day. And I liked what he said, too, about, like, it's one of the only things that ties the shows and the movies together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go with that point. I like seeing him. I was confused when I first saw it, but then not through the whole movie. When he first popped up, I'm like, wait a second, where does this take place in the timeline? And then my brain filled in the rest going, no, they're pulling this from the cartoons. And I was like, oh, shit.
Finally, will there ever be a sequel? Because it really seems like you guys were setting one up. To be honest, I think the challenge has much more to do with the foreign box office than the U.S. box office. Personally, I think there are great Star Wars movies to be made that don't need to cost quite so much. Hopefully that will be the trend in the years to come, and maybe, just maybe, that trend will allow us, one way or another, to tell more stories with Alden, Junice, Amelia, and Donald. With those actors and Ron Howard, I would jump at the opportunity. Given the way Hollywood and the culture at large seem to run from anything labeled a disappointment, the odds seem that they're against it happening anytime soon. But I suppose Han wouldn't have it any other way.
He's a ray of sunshine, isn't he? Well, that was good, man, and good for him for jumping online and being like, here's my brain dump on Solo. You live with a movie, and it sounds like he's been living with it for a while, and then it goes out there in the world. You've got all this excess information and stuff. It's good that he shared it with folks. Good that he put it out there.
Yeah, but if you want to read the rest of them, they're all up on John Kasdan on Twitter.
I'm
not
good.
going to read all 52.
But I will watch that movie tonight. Rewatch it now, knowing a few of these things as well. It was good. I thought it was a good time. I bet you it'll be a fun watch at home. I bet you people are a lot more forgiving about it.
I think there might be.
All right.
That's
so
it?
that's it?
That's it. That's that. That's
So now
all.
we're done with the news?
We are indeed.
Give it up for Marc. He gave you the news. Okay, man, now we come to the other part of the show, the important part. Before we jump into that, though, everybody here who came today got these little keychains. I just want to tell you where that came from. There's a lovely little letter that accompanied them.
Which voice are you going to read this in?
Bane.
Okay, excellent.
To JC and Kevin and Marc, congratulations on your recent projects. We love your podcast and your recent work on both Hollywood and Castle Rock. We make I can't keep doing that.
We make handcrafted, personalized gifts, and we're trying to further our dream. So we made some free gifts for you to give out. We thought you could give them out to celebrate the new title of the podcast. We put SVC for the Scum and Villainy Cantina on the thing as well. We would love it if you gave us a shout out or just had some goodies to give out. We are huge fans of the show, and thank you so much. Lisa and Tony from, is that Stanley Winked? Is that the name of their company? So if you're walking away with Stanley Winked. The good folks at Stanley Winked made the little keychains, man. You can go visit them at Facebook. Thank you guys for sending Lisa and Tony. Very sweet. Okay, now we get to the second part of the show, the most important part of the show, man. This is the Q&A part of the show, man. The Q&A is where we open it up to you folks in the audience, and you take the show in the directions you want to go, and hopefully we can follow along or provide some fucking answers. This week, as every week, Brett Deacon, our good friend who works at 4DX, has given us tickets to a 4DX, 5 sets of tickets to go see a movie in the 4DX presentation. They got one at LA Live. You could use the theater there to see it. It's amazing. I talk about it every fucking week. If you've never seen a movie in 4DX, take time, go see it. Pick a big, expensive movie. The big, expensive ones like work best and stuff. Don't go see like Clerks. That'd be a waste of time. But in the movie, if there's snowing, it snows in the movie theater, and then if the camera's doing this shit, your chair is doing this shit. It's pretty wonderful. It's a great experience. So we thank them every week, man. Give them some applause. 4DX. But in addition to that, as previously mentioned, the good folks at DC, to celebrate Batman Day, has given us 5 copies of the DC Anatomy of a Metahuman. It's Inside Editions published it. They make all those beautiful books. Inside Editions makes like gorgeous geek books. This book is so heavy. There he is right there. It's so heavy you could kill a human being with this book. It could be used for home defense and stuff like that. So we're going to give out those books. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you're going to win, if your question is good enough, is a copy of this book and a set of tickets. 2 tickets to go see a 4DX movie. What the fuck kind of prize package is that, man? That's wonderful. Okay. Our Q&A, we have one simple rule, man. The question has to apply to us both. You can't get up and ask me, like, what would Jay and Silent Bob think about this or that? Because then Marc can't play. So it's always more fun if we're talking about general stuff that doesn't have to do with what we specifically do for a living, because then we can get to geek out on the answer. But that's it. The rule is the question has to be answerable by both me and Marc. You get that question right, you're going to win a set of tickets and this gorgeous, gorgeous fucking book, man. So JC, the proprietor of this here bar and space, is the guy who goes into the audience to find our question asker. He's got the first one. He's placing him into the position. What's your name, young sir?
Hi, I'm Jeff.
Everyone give it up for Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hefe, the room is yours. What do you want to know?
Well, Marc, Castle Rock, we just watched the last episode of that last night. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
I had so much to do with it.
Well, but your episode was great too. That was episode 6, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a lovely pity compliment. No, yours was nice.
It was all amazing. It was
Well, how does
all
that
amazing.
work? Do you work on all of them? Like, are you guys in a room and you're pitching ideas? Like, was some of your ideas in the final episode?
Yes, yeah. There's DNA all throughout. I have one episode. That
I didn't ask you if you cummed on it. I just fucking asked.
Oh no, that's how writers' rooms work. It's awful.
Sticky? Awful sticky?
It's like a Beatles hangout.
With one story, he's changed the Beatles forever, man.
It's like,
Now everyone's like, come together.
Paul, you could have just died with that. Nobody needed to know.
It's true. Okay, sorry, back to you.
Well, and Kevin, you've always been such an inspiration, such an inspirational guy. My lady's name is Jennifer. And
Hi.
We started a podcast years ago, and this is just like a weird little mini question, but a big inspiration was you and your Jennifer doing
one
Plus
we
One.
did
Is she
Plus
ever
One.
coming back?
She won't do it.
Why
I'd
not?
ask her all the time. She said she would do an episode of Smodcast with me and stuff, but she doesn't want to do a podcast anymore.
It was so good. Tell
I
her that
enjoyed-
we miss her.
It was honestly like that was the one podcast I felt like where I was closest to who I am in real life.
Yeah.
There was very little presentation put on and stuff, very little thought to be like, be the entertainer. It was just like, I'm just going to be me with her the way we always are. So I enjoyed doing it as well. Maybe one day I could talk her back into it, but so far, no go.
All right. Well, so the real question. All right. So in a few days, same birthday as Adam West, actually, I'm happy to say, I turn 42.
Hey, happy birthday.
And every time I say 42, because I'm a big dork, I always think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is great fiction. And then a few years ago, they made a movie which had the most amazing cast and like everything going for it, but they deviated so much from the book by the end that it was just kind of, you know? So I was just wondering, in that vein, like either something you've seen that's an adaptation that you just would have done wildly differently, or is there something you'd like to adapt, knowing full well that you could take this thing you love, but you'd still have to change it to make it like cinematic? What would you do?
I will go the adaptation that I saw and thought that there was so much more potential for that I didn't see on the screen. The Dark Tower.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, they made one amazing decision, Idris Elba as a gunslinger, and then made every bad decision after that. Every place they could have made a left into Providence, they made a right turn into the shitter. But there's also a world in which I get why, like they made it a YA movie, ultimately. Made it like a boy and his gunslinger, where the book is a gunslinger. You know, like show me the fucking gunslinger doing gunslingy things. I don't really care that much about this kid in New York. I don't care that much about, I got these problems I gotta solve. I have my pet gunslinger with me in Manhattan. Like, I don't get why you do that. Just make the fucking book. Like, that's one of those where the book is great. It's daffy and it's insane and it's wildly speculatively fictional. It's all of the things that you kind of love. And they made a movie that wasn't any of the things that anybody loved, except for Idris Elba. So yeah, I would take another crack at that if I could.
And you could build a whole universe on it,
Yeah,
because there is one.
I have a little experience at that. So yeah.
Let me see. I mean, there's answers like, and this ain't. I waited my whole life to see a Super Friends movie, and you know, I kind of got one in Justice League, and you know, it was fine, but like, I would like, given a chance, I'd like to see another Justice League movie, but I'm not gonna pick that one. Let me see. Well, we were just talking about Solo. I think a Solo movie. I think a movie called Solo absolutely could have made a bunch of money at the box office if it was Solo versus Boba Fett. And so I'm not picking that. That's for somebody else to do. I'm gonna pick, and this isn't all right. I'm gonna pick Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck, we all know and respect or abhor the movie and stuff. We know it exists. Thank God there was a comic book movie made at the time, but it wasn't the Howard the Duck that we knew from the comic book. So I think there's definitely a truer version of that character to do, particularly now, particularly in a world where everybody knows all the Marvel characters. You don't even have to have them involved. I'm not saying like fucking crossover with everybody, but like, he's the epicenter of the Marvel universe. So you get to make fucking references galore, and now everybody's in on those references. It's no longer just like only hardcore comic book and aficionados would know. Your mother would understand the fucking jokes that Howard the Duck could make now about the Marvel universe. And also Howard was like, you know, trapped in a world he never made. Like, he could be a wry observer of the culture, particularly right fucking now. I just think you could really do a great version of Howard the Duck.
Would you give him a sex scene? The original had that, in case no one's seen it.
It did. I mean, yeah. Well, it didn't technically have a sex scene. It had a scene where Beverly, found a duck condom. which was really like weird, but it was right as like AIDS was becoming a national crisis, and so safe sex was a conversation, and they stuck it into this movie. But it did create implications. Like most people think of that movie and they're like, isn't that movie where that chick fucked a duck? And that's not what happened at all. They're very good friends. But would I include a sex scene? Yes, just not with Beverly. But that was a great question, and that gets fucking a book and some tickets. Well done, man. You're going to take your Jenny out on a date, and you're going to sit there and read a book to her in the movie theater. Well done. All right, JC, take us someplace. What's your name?
Hi, I go by Lala.
Lala? Everyone give it up for Lala.
Me and my boyfriend are big fans, so we chit-chat all the time about random comic things or movie things. And so recently we decided to pick a character that we thought would best represent us, but our character as well. So like as a character and through their characteristics and stuff. And we picked one for each other, and I found out that he thinks I'm very cold, apparently. He picked Killer Frost for me, so I'm apparently smart and very dark and cold. And so we found out a lot about
What did you pick for him? You're like, Jesus.
No.
Who was his?
Well,
Dirk
I
Diggler.
might have picked something funny for him, too, because we also did movies as well. And I told him when he gets into, like, a repetitive mode, I think of like 10-Second Tom from the 51st Dates. And every time he starts singing something on a loop, or he'll even start singing like your stuff, he'll be like smoke, 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 smoke. Yeah, like I'll sit there, but he'll just repeat it over and over again. And so when he gets into that mode, I'm like, you're like 10-Second Tom, you just repeat stuff, man. So I would say, my question is okay, if you two were to pick characteristic-wise a movie, a character from a comic, a movie, and a TV show for each other, just to show each other how you think about each other, and maybe for yourself. But like, obviously, like if you think he's smart and funny, you would pick a character like that. Or if you think he's just a smart ass, like Deadpool, you would pick a character for that. Like, so what character would you pick for each other?
Number
to show
one,
each other?
that before we even get into it, that wins. You get a book and tickets. Well done. Okay, now to actually provide an answer.
To do the service for which we were.
I know, but
requested.
it's fucking breathtakingly good. Do you have one?
Not yet.
Me neither.
All right,
Honestly, my first instinct, and then I was like, don't go with it, was to be like Alfred. But, because you're like smart, and I guess you're not British, yeah, but
I'm so white.
let me think. All right, fucking. Oh, I got yours.
Okay, I think I have yours.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Should we write it down so we can't change it behind each other's backs?
I won't
Like if
change
I
it.
say a really flattering one, you're like, oh shit. Well, I was gonna pick fucking Lockheed the dragon for you, but instead now I'll pick this. Should we write them down
No,
so
I
we
don't
can't
have
cheat?
to. I solemnly swear that I will not change.
All right, I solemnly swear. I'll go first.
All right,
Ready?
you go first.
Reed Richards. Right? When you think about it, you're like, yes, he has a little white in his hair. No. Marc is so smart, so good at stories, so good at putting things together, man. That's who I think of, Reed Richards, smartest guy in the fucking room. And like Reed Richards, while Reed Richards leads the Fantastic Four, doesn't feel the need to lead. He's so busy building, being smart. He's not like, hey man, I'm fucking necessarily in charge here and stuff like that. He can top from the bottom. That was just a real insight into our relationship, wasn't it?
You want to go see another movie?
I'll pay. All right, you're Reed Richards. Who am I?
I'm Reed Richards. You are Don Quixote.
Oh, wait.
No, it's all right. There's the good stuff.
All right, I'll follow you. Keep going. If you're
But-
Sancho Panza, it's okay.
But you're a dreamer who believes in the sanctity of the dream, who believes that it is worth, if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing to the ends of the earth, and whatever that dream might be,
Even if it's Tusk.
even if it's Tusk. But that sometimes the dream is the thing that drives, not the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the romantic dreamer of it all.
I buy that. That's sweet, man. Thank you. What a great question. All right, JC. Give us another victim. We got 3 books and 3 sets of tickets, man. What's your name
Yeah.
there, young camper?
Hi there, my name is Matt. I'm from England.
Matt is from England. Give it up for
Oh,
Matt.
you're not from the Bronx?
Hiya.
I thought you might have been from the Bronx.
Not quite the same accent.
Because-
Don't make me do a Bronx accent.
I'm also from the Bronx, so hey, good to see you, brother.
I came all the way here to do 2 things. One, I did the other day. I proposed to my girlfriend.
Wow! Hey! Congratulations! Where'd you
My
guys?
now fiance,
Now
as I
your
shall call
fiance.
her.
You
That's
gotta
right.
keep doing that shit.
Where did you do it? Where'd you do it?
Okay, this is pretty great. It was on the.
If you say so yourself.
If I do say so myself.
Did you just review your own story?
Wait to hear. It was on the steps of the clock tower, the Back to the Future clock tower.
Ooh, that
on
is
Universal.
fucking good. That's good.
And
I'll give you the time of your life.
she had no idea, and it was awesome. And just as we were leaving, we're just phoning a bunch of friends, telling them, and while Emma's on the phone, a fucking DeLorean rolls around the corner and parks up in front of the clock tower, and we're like, is this happening? No, I didn't arrange this, but fucking...
It's your kids!
Somebody-
We gotta go back, it's your kids!
It was incredible.
I
It
think
was,
they turn into assholes or something.
It turned out to be some dude who just built his own DeLorean and then brought it there to take a picture and arranged at that exact time to turn up. So we're like, fucking A, photo shoot.
You're such an honest man. I would have been like, I paid for that
Oh, yeah.
because I love you that much. Let us wed.
The other reason, obviously, was to see you guys. So thank you very much for
Thanks
all
for
your
coming
podcast
out,
work
man.
and everything you've done.
And congrats. That's awesome.
Okay, so my question, I want you guys to go back to your early 20s and switch roles, switch career paths even. So, Mark, what I really want to ask is, like, what would your version of Clerks be at that age? Okay.
Even if the next part of the question is, and Kevin, what time do you want to die tonight? You're still winning, man. That's good.
Okay, and obviously, what would your career be as a comic book writer and TV writer?
What would you have done to Clerks?
What would I have done to Clerks? Well, it would have been set at a bodega in the Bronx. There would have been a cat there because there's always a cat in bodegas, and I'm not sure why. That's not sanitary.
We had a cat. In
Did you have a cat? See?
Jersey bodegas as well.
Jersey bodegas as well.
Would your cat poop on cue?
I mean, we would have spared no expense on that fucking cat. But I don't think it would have been manifestly different because he and I are not that manifestly different anyway. Like, it still would have been about the things that you grew up loving that maybe other people didn't find the same value in that you did. You know, and for me, it's also fucking Star Wars and comic books. It's also all of that nerd shit and kung fu movies and Kiss. I loved Kiss when I was like 9 years old. For really simple reasons, is that they looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I never listened to Kiss. I just kept looking at Kiss, and that's enough. Because like if you're 9, just
They should put that on the Best of Kiss album set. You don't have to listen at it. Looking at it's enough.
I was like I met Gene Simmons because my buddy Adam Freeman, who I co-wrote Genius with, used to produce the Gene Simmons Family Jewels show on A&E. So one day he's like, hey, we need some extras for the shoot at the Simmons house. Do you want to come? It's like, I'm gonna if you're gonna let me come and meet fucking Gene Simmons. So I'd pull up to this fucking giant palatial mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and in case you didn't notice on the show, there's an entire room, a vast cavern of a room in that house devoted to Kiss. And that they have one piece of every single piece of Kiss merchandise.
Including the coffin.
Including the coffin in this fucking room. And so, I get to meet fucking Gene, and he's super nice. And I don't know why, because I'd seen him meet other people later, and he wasn't that nice. But he just started like taking out comics out of his collection. He's like, hey, do you want to see this? Here's old Nancy and Sluggo from 1946 because I bought it because I love it. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, I loved Kiss when I was 9, but I didn't listen to your music till I was like 30. He's like, all right, that works for me. Like, I don't care how you got here as long as you got here.
All right.
So yes, that is my other. The time I saw him be a dick to somebody though. There was a guy, my same friend Adam invited me. They were playing Madison Square Garden, so he invited me backstage.
What year?
This would have been 2008.
So in the recent
Yeah, recent years. And so I go backstage and meet and greet, and they're all fucking dressed up. He's the demon. He's 9 feet tall, whatever. And some guy, like insurance salesman from Paramus, comes up. He's like, "Hey, Gene, I'm not sure if you remember, but we met like 4 years ago at a blah blah blah." And Gene looks at him, sincerely says, "If you had my life, would you remember you?" And I was like, A, no, but B, why you gotta say that shit though, homie? Yeah. Just be like, nah, man, but it's good to see you again. Easy. It's like, if you had would you remember you? No, I wouldn't.
I mean, he is the demon.
He is the demon. He's not always nice. Anyway, so I don't know how the fuck we got to Kiss, but Kiss.
I think you were going to put more Kiss into Clerks.
More Kiss. Just a poster of Kiss on the wall. But I don't think they would be that different. I don't think they would honestly that different. Maybe less fellatio jokes. Maybe more kung fu. But otherwise, yeah. But it would have been brown people in the Bronx.
That was my original title for Clerks.
Should have.
Seems a little racist, so I changed it to Clerks. Well, let me see. I'm not going to pick comic books because I've done comic books too, and I won't pick TV. I want to pick the career of Marc's that I think I might have actually enjoyed and been good at. Marc was an entertainment journalist for a long, long time, and ran shops and stuff like that, worked for people and had people working for him and stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know anybody that does that job that isn't on some level a fan. Because you can write about anything in this world. You don't have to write about the entertainment biz, but if you do, it's because it appeals to you at the end of the day. Like we were in one of my, hand to God, I even share this with him. I'll share it with him now. One of my favorite moments so far of 2018 was me and Marc sitting in the movie before it began just a few hours ago. And while we were watching trailers, we were just talking shop, and not even our shop, but we were sitting there going like, what was the fucking trailer came up where I was like, oh, we were talking about Predator. We were going, how much did it cost? And we were trying to figure it out. It was like 78 or something, or 80 million. And I was sitting there going, all right, man, if I was like the head of a studio and Shane Black's like, I want to do a Predator movie, and it was under 100, yeah, I'd fucking roll those dice. And he was like, yeah. And then he started talking about, this is one of my favorite fucking moments of 2018, because it reminds me of like sports aficionados. They like to sit around and talk about like a human being's value, like, oh, I could throw a burn, but he ain't worth that kind of money and shit like that. And whenever I hear people do that, I'm like, what do you care? You've got no skin in this game. But I was just sitting in a movie theater going, I would green light this. Like, it's the same fucking thing, right? So the idea of doing entertainment journalism, that would have thrilled me. I would love, I kind of do it on the podcast. I sit down with a bunch of different people and stuff. And once or twice I've done like traditional interviews for Arena Magazine back in the day. I got to interview Tom Cruise. They sent me to interview Tom Cruise for The Last Samurai. And so like, even though I work in the business, like I was like, I'm gonna fucking meet Tom Cruise? Like, oh, crazy. So I had all my lists ready to go, a list of questions. And I was going in there, I was like, I'm not letting this dude off easy, man. Like, I'm gonna get good shit out of him, man. I'm not like I'm gonna hold his feet to the fire and stuff, but like, I'm gonna ask the tough questions if I have to and stuff. They brought me into the room and he stands up and first words out of his mouth, he goes, with that big Tom Cruise smile, he goes, Silent Bob. And that man could have put his dick in my mouth. Oh my God, I was like, he knows my character's name. So I think I would have enjoyed that if I didn't get to make movies. I think ultimately I would have aggregated toward trying it myself. Even if I was as a journalist, if I was interviewing people, I was covering entertainment, I think I would have aggregated to doing it though, because my makeup, my personality, I couldn't just talk about it for so long without actually giving it a try. And so I think I would have eventually got to film, but I would have enjoyed interviewing cats. I've always enjoyed doing it thus far, and I think I would have enjoyed that aspect of his career.
Yeah, when I got to Entertainment Weekly, it dawned on me very quickly that everybody there was a fan of something. Like you were a fan of soap operas, you were a fan of horror novels, you were a fan of nerd shit, you were a fan of, ELO, you were a fan of prog rock, whatever it was, everybody there loved something to death. And this is the only way they could get money, they could make money out of that love, was, shit, I get to write about it, I get to talk about it, I get to interview people about it, and they'll pay me for this? This is amazing. And it's absolutely true that there was a segment of that, of especially when I started, of people who loved it so much they eventually went on to make it. Because after a while, some of that passion will translate into a desire to want to be part of the story.
Jeff Jensen.
Jeff Jensen
was an EW writer. He interviewed me a couple times, and he wound up writing Tomorrowland, amongst other things.
Yeah, I worked with Gillian Flynn, who was on the staff of EW the same time that I was. And she was the reason, she's not the reason why nobody there wants to write a novel. It was like, well, what are the odds that there are going to be two people out of that yearbook who will be Gillian Flynn? Who's going to write Gone Girl after that? Who's going to do that shit?
I didn't know that she wrote for EW.
She did. She was the TV critic for a while. She was the book editorial assistant for a while, and then she.
Now
left.
I could see it, man. Like the idea of if you're doing TV, you're watching so much fucking story, and as you sit there watching story, you're predicting it as it goes, and when it doesn't go the way you think, you've then got a fresh idea in your head. Number one, you've got an opinion where you're like, they should have done this. But then the smart cracker decides to take that idea, create something completely new, and go forward. That makes sense. I could see that. It's strange that the job doesn't lead to more people jumping over the business. You know who I just ran into the other day for the first time in a while? Dan Trachtenberg. He directed Cloverfield Lane. But I knew him in a previous life. He was the first person that ever introduced me to a podcast. He did Geekscape, I think it was called. Geekdrome, with, I think the other cat's name was Michael London. And so they asked me at one point, I forget how it happened, but they came over to the office where we did Clerks 2, behind the Henson Studios. It was an old Chaplin bungalow. And they brought this big recording equipment and sat down to record a podcast with me, and I'd never been on one. And there were these two kids, and I the whole time I'm like, you can just do this? You didn't have to ask your parents or something like that? And they're like, no, there's a podcast. You just do whatever you want. Say whatever you want. And so that was the first one I was on. The next one I was on was my own. So I ran into Dan. I did this movie, Kin, is out. And for the DVD or the Blu-ray, there's an extra about DVD and Blu-ray and Laserdisc extras in the past, because there's a whole generation of filmmakers who now learned watching the behind-the-scenes stuff on DVDs back in the past. So they got a little panel of people together to talk about it. And he was there, man. And he was like, hey, man, it's Dan Trachtenberg. And I was like, oh, Dan Trachtenberg, who made 10 Cloverfield Lane or whatever the fuck. I was like, hey, man, how are you? He's like, I haven't seen you in a while. And in my head, I'm going, I didn't go to the premiere. Have I met this man? And then he goes, when we recorded Geekdrome, then instantly I was like, holy fuck, that was you? I was like, that changed my life, man. At that point, I stopped making movies and became a podcaster, and then he became a movie maker and stopped doing podcasts, so his fucking trick worked, man. Now that I think about it, he stole my life. It was really cool to run into it, but he was a guy that was a journalist who is now a filmmaker. So it's possible to do that thing and love it so much that you're like, all right, I eventually want to do it one day, which is where you are right now. Totally. But to be fair, you always wanted to do it.
Since I
you weren't aiming at entertainment journalism. That's just something to do until the other thing happened.
It was a parallel track, and I kept on looking over and saying, hey, all of that shit over there, that's what I want to do. And just waiting for the turn off the expressway to get there. Don't tell my old bosses that, because they thought I was invested.
And it's rather like a poetic way to put it. Create a real word picture there. Well done.
Every now and again.
That was a great question. You win a book and tickets. Take your new fiancé to go see a movie. Pleasure, man. Pleasure. All right, JC, we need another victim. We got 2 books and 2 sets of tickets left. What's your name, young camper?
Hi, I'm Nick.
Everyone give it up for Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Mark, I just also want to say thank you so much for Castle Rock. It was amazing. I love it. And I can't wait to keep seeing more from you, from your future projects.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Kevin, I owe you a great deal of thanks. I actually proposed to my wife on your show, Comic Book Men. And it was
shit!
the happiest day of my life.
Was that the episode?
Tell him Jim Lee.
Yes. I remember like Walter, who is not generally an emotional guy.
He definitely
He was
cried.
really emotional about it, and I talked to him about it because on that show they would shoot things, and then later on I'd come for the podcast, and the idea was they would tell me what happened while I wasn't there. So as they were describing the episode on camera for our show, you know, I'm engaged, and they're telling me the broad points and stuff, broad strokes. But then between takes, they would talk about like, you know, in real terms, like my friends, like not just like, hey, there's cameras on, but like, and Walter was like, it was fucked up. He's going, I got really emotional. I didn't imagine that would happen, and I knew it was coming, and still, like, it really broke me up inside. So if you can find the fucking human in Walter Flanagan, man, like that's, God bless, that's tremendous.
Well, thank you. So my question is for both of you. You've written for many different forms of mediums of comic books, movies, TVs, journalism, books. What has been the most challenging, and also what has been the most rewarding?
The most challenging is yoga. It was so hard. I got really emotional. Let me see. What's been normally I would say the most challenging in my career has been working with notes from others. I haven't spent too much time in other people's yards, so to speak. I've pretty much done my own thing my whole career, and so because of that, I've never really had to deal with many notes. Like, you know, I'll seek advice from people. I fucking send him a script all the time, be like, can you give me a read? And if he's like, this is wrong and this is stupid, I go in and fucking change it and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm not above a good idea. I'm not that stupid. But at the same time, I'm like, well, this is me. This is a statement about who I am, and so, like, I'm way invested in it. It's making some dream come true. It's more than just the thing itself, right? So I'm when it comes to working on somebody else's thing, and I've done that many times over my career, that's weirder because then you have to deal with input from somebody else, and in some cases you have to take that input. In fact, in most cases you have to take it because they're fucking paying you. And so my personality doesn't really lend well to that traditionally. So see that Superman story I used to tell all the time. That's a story about somebody giving me notes and me being like, are you fucking crazy? So I normally bristle about that. That's my least favorite part of the process. But I will caveat it and say, I'm working on this thing right now, this thing I've been talking about that looks like it might happen, this big project, and people thought it was a movie, but it's a series and stuff. And so I've been working with a studio because it's theirs. It's all theirs. Like, none of this IP is mine. The job is wonderful because you're playing with somebody else's toys, and because it's their toys, all the ideas technically generate from them. So it's like being able to work on this wonderful thing where I can be as creative as I want, and I'm probably being more creative doing this thing than I've been in a long fucking time. But at the end of the day, like, I can't make it what it's not. I can't make it mine, so to speak. It's definitely theirs. And normally in that process, like, you know, when you get notes, it's like you want to bang your head against a wall. And then you have to decide how invested you are. Like, when it's my stuff, I'm fully invested, and I'm like, I'll go down swinging to keep it what it should be or whatever. When it's somebody else's thing, you're like, all right, well, I want to fight for what's right in what I feel is happening in the story, particularly as the writer. But at the same time, these are not my toys. and technically then hence not my ideas. They were put in place well before me. So you have to do this weird dance of like, how much do I care? Because if you care too much, then you wind up getting into fights with the people who are paying you. And it's one thing to fight about your own material. Like, well, hey man, fucking Chasing Amy this is the way it has to end, and I'll tell you why. But when you're working on somebody else's thing, there's less wiggle room to be like, no, it has to be this. Because they're like, well, it wasn't that before, and it hasn't been that for the 50 years it existed or whatever, so you can't really back it up as much. The process, this thing that I've been working on lately, though, hands down, has been so much fun dealing with the studio aspect of it, the people that give me notes, the development team on it. I maybe it's because I'm fucking getting older in life, or maybe it's because like the fucking heart attack, I don't know what, but I have had a fucking blast. I look forward to going in to the notes session because every time we've done it, the project has gotten better. And I loved the project to begin with and whatnot, and I put a lot of love into it, and they dug it, and I got a job, and then you kept working on shaping it and stuff. But this team that I'm working with, is 4 individuals at this company, are so gifted and creative. And at one point, like, I'm not used to that. When I used to deal with suits, it was, they weren't creative in the least. Apparently, in the time that I've been gone, since I've worked with studios and stuff, like, it's been like a minute, over 10 years since I've been, like, other than doing the Supergirl and Flash and stuff, I haven't really been in studio world. But apparently what they did was they've started hiring writers to be the executives. So it's not just like some fucking suit who went to law school who's going like, well, I don't know, make it a boy or something like that. It's people that know how to tell stories. So it's almost like getting into, it's like hanging out with him, where you pitch an idea and he's like, oh, you could do this, and suddenly it gets better. So normally that part of the process has irritated me, but it's now been both. Historically, I've hated it, but now I literally look forward to going in because I'm like, I know when we're done with this meeting, this fucking thing's gonna get better. And not just better for the mass audience, which I understand, like that's what we're in the business of pleasing the audience, but even though it's not my material I'm telling the story with, I go at it the same way I go at my shit. I'm here to please me. It's a very masturbatory process. If I'm happy, I assume others will be too. Maybe not the whole fucking world, although the thing I'm working on is very much for the whole world. So naturally there's more thought into, although, and this is so weird, one day I get to tell you what it is and it'll all make sense.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. And whether it happens or not, I'll be able to say what it is eventually. But right now, I can't. But this was a note that I received. Ready? Normally you get fucking studio notes, like I told that whole Superman story and stuff. Like this was a studio note. I want you to write Superman, and I don't want to see him in that suit, and I never want to see him fly. You know, you're like, what? Then why don't we just make Landman or something like that? This was a note that I just got on the last pass of the script that I did for this thing I'm working on. Can you make it more Kevin Smith? And I was like, yes. Oh my God, yes, man. Like that fucking blew me away, particularly because it's not anything that you would ever associate with Kevin Smith. Normally when people use like examples of other movies, they're like, do what they did in Iron Man or something like that. Throughout this process, they've been like, it should sound more like, you know, like Dante when he's like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. And I'm like, are you just talking to me in my language? Like, did you watch all my movies just so you can memorize the characters and use them as notes so that I would understand better? And they're like, no, that's why we came toward you in the first place. We like what you do. We just want to harness that engine for this. So it's been this incredibly rewarding process, which even if it died, like I was talking the other day, I was over at the studio and fucking the big guy was there and chit-chatting and stuff. And I said, look, man, I was blowing up the kids, the development team. I was like, these fucking kids are smart, man. Like each one of them made this fucking thing better, and I've had a blast working with them. Like I've never resented a single fucking note. And even if this shit dies today, like this has been worthwhile. This has been fun. And they're like, it ain't dying today. So if it happens, I'll be able to share what it was or what it is. And it's fucking thrilling. But more so than anything else, the best, most satisfying part of the process was finding out like that system, that studio system, while I was in it for a little bit, and then I was off doing my own thing for a long, long time. they self-corrected and found a better way to develop scripts. They just bring in fucking writers and stuff. So that used to be my least favorite part of the process. Now it's my most favorite part of the process. And I actually I don't look forward to it. I'm sad about it coming to an end. Like, we'll find out soon if this thing is going to happen. And if it happens, then the project becomes something completely different, and I say goodbye to the development team and fucking move on. And it's going to be sad for me to say goodbye to the development team. I almost want to hire them as writers because they've got great fucking ideas and stuff. But hopefully they'll stay involved as far as we go. Anyway, that's a very long answer to a very short question. I turn it over to Marc.
Okay, so the most challenging thing I've ever written was my first comic book. Because the comic book script format is fucking weird. And if you're writing full script, if you're writing page 1, panel 1, here's what happens. And then you're doing math, and you're doing layout, you're doing dialogue, you're doing structure, you're doing all of these things all at once. And it's, all right, well, how many pages in this book? Great. How many panels on each page? Great. How many word balloons in each panel? And like, all of this is thought you have to do to write a thing. Mm-hmm. And if you've never done it before, you don't know or it's shit that you think you know because you've read comics, but you don't know they're actually tools you can deploy, like the page turn. Like, suddenly, like, it's just a thing you do as a reader of comics. But when you're writing it, you're like, all right, well, we're going to build to a bunch of action here, and then turn the page, and bam, new information that'll change everything you read before.
And then there's also aspects of it that are like, all right, I plotted it out so that when they turn this page, it's a fucking splash page that does all this shit. And then they're like, you forgot about the ads. And you're like, fuck. And then you have to change everything because the pages are taken up.
Yeah, but it's so many different disciplines at once. And if you've never done it, it is nut-crushingly hard to learn how to do. And once you do it, it's amazing. Once you get it, it's great. You know, there's a thing about writing comics that's unlike anything else you write, in that A, the reader becomes a very active participant in it because the readers turn the page. They're living in the gutters. They're filling in blanks for you. And the distance between you and the reader is as short as it is in almost any kind of fiction. You know, maybe writing a novel, it's you, an editor, and like the printing press. But if you're doing mass media shit where you're writing dialogue for pictures or a visual medium, it's you, an artist, an editor, and a publisher, and that's it. 5 people, basically, between you and the reader. If we make a TV show, if you make a movie, there's hundreds of people between you and your intended audience. And the message has every chance of getting fucked up along the way, and you're fighting for every last piece of everything that you thought was important. You're fighting tooth and nail for all the time because you've got to preserve the vision because it's so easy to go astray. Comics, I'm not gonna say it's impossible for it to go astray, but you're having a direct conversation with an audience, which is phenomenal. But the most rewarding thing that most rewarding form that I work in is journalism, I think. Because you can have a conversation with people about the world that they live in using pop culture, for me, as a lens. You know, being able to talk about things like whitewashing, being able to talk about things like, you know, diversity and inclusion and all of those things, using nerd shit as a bit of a way in so that we're all talking about the same thing, we're all speaking the same language. But here are new ideas we can discuss with a common foundation. And it was a bit of a dilemma when I got the offer to join Castle Rock that I had to leave the LA Times. And I did feel for a beat like, I'm doing important work here. Like, I'm having conversations that the Times has never had, that we as a culture are only beginning to have. And I have a soapbox here that's reaching people in a platform and with a reach that I've never had before. Am I being irresponsible by chasing after this fucked up dream of writing dumb horror shit for television when I could be helping to shape the way people are thinking about the world around them via the culture they intake? I eventually said, fuck that, I want to go make TV for money.
But it still
and I
it
still,
helps.
I still get to kind of play in journalism here and there.
Yeah.
Like, I still get to write for THR. I still get to. This podcast is absolutely a form of criticism and a thought exercise.
Well, for one of us. The other one's just like, I love everything.
But being able to have that same conversation with an audience, as I get to scratch that itch here a lot of the time. But yeah, that being able to talk to people about the shit that I love and the way that I look at the world and how it might be the same or different from you, but how we can still find a way to share that love and help navigate a course through is the most rewarding part of anything that I get to do.
And that rewards you
Thank
with
you,
a
thank
book
you.
and tickets, man. You guys are going to see a movie and read a book. Oh, yeah? All right, so we got some spare tickets.
Sure,
Well done.
unless you got
keep the
some
book.
then.
All right, JC, give us another guy. What's your name, young camper?
Hi, I'm Sean.
Everyone give it up for Sean. Sean wearing a fucking excellent fucking thing t-shirt says
Thank
you
you,
rock
sir.
on it. Well
So
done.
I have a comic book question to bring back to Batman Day and the launch of Batman or Fatman Beyond. Does that make us Beyonders? Yeah. That's not my
Yes.
question, but
Yes, and you win a prize.
so my beautiful wife actually logged us into DC Universe like a couple days ago. We've been watching Super Friends, Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, it's been up for a few days, right?
Batman, Brave and the Bold, Space Ghost. All this really good stuff.
They got some great content.
So a couple fat men ago, you guys were talking about Supergirl or Stargirl coming on the show, which I'm pumped about. Like the Stargirl, Doom
Jeff
Patrol.
Johns is taking a character that he very personal to him and doing a series.
Right, and I was hanging off my chair waiting for you to talk about the James Robinson Starman series. If you have any familiarity with
Loved it back in the day. It was such a wonderful run of book. He's a great writer, James, and that Starman take was pretty fascinating, pretty interesting. You know, that character was always a little bit, the original incarnation of the character, the Silver Age incarnation of the character, a little on the goofier side. That incarnation, the one that James did, actually made it fairly believable and whatnot, and it was also the second generation story. Like, if I remember my Starman correctly, it begins with the other son, his brother, taking over the mantle, but then he dies.
like page
At
2.
Page 2 of the first issue, and then the brother who's like, I don't have any interest in this shit, winds up taking over and becoming Starman. They should totally do that. They should really, like, DC should pull that out and make that. This is a pretty great series.
Mark, are you?
Is that what the question was?
No. It's a twofer, but that's just indulging me.
I also liked it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Thank you, sir. So here's my question.
Okay.
Bring it back to Batman Day. So now, like, I have a stack of Kevin Smith signed comics, which is my new like gem of my comic collection.
Oh, thank you.
What is like the gem of your comic collection, either like an issue or a whole run? Like, I'm also a huge Starman fan, so like I have that whole comic run. So like, what's your comic book gem?
That is a great question. Let me think. What is my... Back in the day, it was easy to answer. Like, oh, I got a giant-sized X-Men annual. Like, so back, that was the crown jewel of my collection. Now, let me think. What do I have that I love the absolute most? You got one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a book I haven't read in forever, but I loved it to death when it first came out. Is I have like a second printing, I think, of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1.
Really?
Yeah.
Even the second print of that is worth money.
Yeah, it's no insignificant book.
Yeah.
But I love that fucking book when it came out because I love ninjas because ninjas are awesome, and I loved sort of anthropomorphic shit because Secret of Nim and Disney is awesome. And if you're gonna tell me that talking animals are also ninjas, that's the peanut butter and chocolate of fucking comic books right there. And so yeah, I remember buying that because I went to the comic book store in the town I grew up in, Baldwin, Long Island, after we left the Bronx because there were no comic stores in the Bronx, called The Incredible Pulp. And
It was called The Incredible Pulp?
yeah,
That's a good name.
Not bad, right? And so the guy who owned it was a total miser and miscreant, but kind of liked kids. So he would always say like, "Hey kid, here's comics. You should read this. People seem to like this," and he pointed out TMNT #1. I was like, "Fuck, all right, I'll give it a go, sure." And took it home and fell in love with it. Totally fell in love with it. And I haven't read a Turtles comic in a long time because it doesn't feel like a story that requires 40 years of telling to be told. But in the beginning, it was my jam for real.
Especially because it was so tied into Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like
Foot.
Yeah, the Foot Clan instead of the Hand Clan. And the Turtles became the Turtles because of the radioactive isotope that Matt Murdock pushes the man out of the way. That fell down the sewer and that created the Turtles. So I remember like before the Turtles belonged to kids, they belonged to like hardcore comic book fans who were like, "Oh my God, these guys tied into fucking Daredevil. That's sweet."
And it was bloody as fuck. Like, it was not for kids.
Very serious.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do I have there's a hallway in my house that's down by my in-laws' room on the first floor where we went into the storage fairly recently and found all this fucking artwork that had been taken off the walls of the Smod Castle a couple of years back. And then also up at City Walk, we were doing spoilers there, so a lot of artwork was up there. And when it got closed down, the artwork went to one of the storage bins and stuff. So I found it recently. I was like, fuck, we should bring this shit home. This belongs in a museum. And so normally I keep shit from my work off the walls of the house. Like you walk in my house, we got like a lot of walls. There's a family wall going up all the stairs, and it pretty much depicts our life as a family, me, Jen, the kid, her parents and stuff, my parents. But I don't really like have Clerks this or anything hanging around and shit. For years I didn't do that. So when I brought all this shit back from storage, I'm like, you know what, I am way comfortable with who I am and where I am in my career and shit. It's time to put this shit up on the wall. Some of this shit's great. So we recently put up this whole wall of pages from runs of books that I've worked on. So you walk down this hallway, and there's a full wall of Aquaman from my Green Arrow run and Black Manta, like 5 pages telling that story. And on the other side is all the Doctor Strange stuff from my Daredevil run, where he's talking to Mephisto. So as you walk down the hallway, or as I walk down the hallway, and I see it, and I think, like, there's Aquaman, who's, like, fucking about to have a big-ass movie. And there's Doctor Strange, who was just in a big-ass movie. Yeah. And you got to play with him fucking 20 years ago. Like, long before everyone thought they were cool. And it reminds me of the garage band fan in me that's just like, I was into Aquaman before Momoa, motherfucker, So I like those, but that's from my own personal collection, so it's a little braggy and stuff. But that is a comic book thing that I absolutely adore. I have Dark Knight Returns in 2 beautiful French editions that I've always fucking loved. Same book, but it's all in fucking French, and they're oversized. That I wouldn't even put up on the top of the list. I think if I had to pick anything, I mean, I do have an entire store, so I could be like, why the secret stash, of course. But there is a single page that hangs in my office now, something on the wall that doesn't have to do with me. Now everything in the walls of my office is like shit I've done and stuff. But there's one comic book page from Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, and it's from the Anatomy Lesson issue, which is perhaps one of the greatest single pieces of comic book literature ever produced. It's a fucking magic. It's alchemy. It's Alan Moore taking, an all right character, good character, created by Bernie Wrightson and stuff, so he's got some good roots to him, pun intended. Taking that Swamp Thing and turning it into a religion, turning it into some of the greatest fucking collection of words ever put together to explain the dopey concept of a plant man. He turned it into epic literature. And so that issue, the Anatomy Lesson, is where you go from realizing that he's the main character, the Swamp Thing, is about to learn that he's not who he thinks he is. All this time in the book, he believes that he was Alec Holland, a scientist who's covered by all this muck, and if he could just get this off of him, he could free himself. But in that issue, they find out that, like, Alec Holland died. You're a plant with the memories of being Alec Holland. And so there's a page that talks about Sunderland Corp is like the corporation that's like tracking down Swamp Thing. And this issue happened like after the book had a primary run where it was more of a traditional monster book. He was fighting the Unmen, and he was fighting his arch nemesis, what's his fucking name? Arcane. But when Alan Moore came in, he turned it into this incredible piece of comic book writing that transcended the medium and instantly went like right into, like, it sounds ridiculous, but right up there with fucking Shakespeare over this vegetable thing. Like, it was mind-bending. So the panel I have, the page I have, is the page where there's a guy who's like talking as a narrator, and he's discussing how the monster, which they're calling him, and it's Swamp Thing. The monster is intelligent, so he can read the scientist's notes. The scientist dissected him to find out that, like, this guy was never alive. This is not a lung. This is not a heart. This is what a vegetable thinks a heart and lung would look like, and he grows it because he remembers being a man, but he's now no longer a man. He's going to be an elemental. So that information would be fucking really hard to digest. It would be like finding out you are Christ. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? But in the worst possible way, because this guy finds out he's never going to be a human being again. And so naturally, he's fucking, like, pissed. So on the page, there's a line, which is fantastic, where he says, like, somebody's doing the narration talking about how the monster found the notes. Right about now, the monster would be reading about how he'll never be a man again and stuff. And then it refers to Sunderland, the guy who's, like, runs the facility that has captured him and stuff. And he's like, and one of the last things is, like, the monster just realized who's in charge. And you're close on Sunderland's face as a window breaks and he's about to be killed. The page was written and drawn, got to be close to 22, 23 years ago at this point, maybe 30. I forget what year they actually did it. But I bought it a long time ago at a Comic-Con. Found it for, I think at that point it was like a $200 page, and it was like panning for gold and finding a big fucking nugget, like one of those things where I didn't want to tell the person I was buying, like, I first wanted to say, like, do you know what you have? But I didn't want to say that because I wanted to get it for a price and shit. And then the dude who sold it to me was like, you got a really rare page. I was like, I know, and I fucking ran with it and shit like that. So that is one of my favorite. Long before I ever made movies or wanted to be like fucking who I am and stuff like that, I was just a fan of that stuff. And that Swamp Thing run, that made me a comic book fan. I'd been one as a kid. It's in my DNA and shit. But that brought me back into the world where I was like, this is what comic books are nowadays. So that page still hangs in my office wall right by the light switch. The only thing up there that I had nothing to do with, but it's a constant reminder of, be as good as this. It's impossible, but here's something to reach for.
You are such a vegan. Oh, I gave him my answer, started this.
Oh, I forgot. That was a great question. That wins a book and tickets, man. Give it up for him. Well done. And then since over here, our one couple, more. Man, yeah, they're not going to be here, so they left the tickets behind and stuff. We got one set of 4DX tickets. We can go for a bonus question
bonus
if
round.
JC picks somebody. Oh, it's our man who stood up with the great theory before. What's your name?
My name's Scott Hawkinson. I got to thank him for my redemption right now, mispronouncing Thanos.
That's not.
Jesus Christ.
You heard me before. I called him Han and Han. So you know what I'm saying?
When Kevin Smith hands you a microphone for the first time in your life and says, turn around, there's a fucking camera right there.
You say yes.
Sorry.
Next time somebody hands you a microphone and says, turn around, don't take your eye off that person.
Right. No, for real.
All right, you got a possibility. The books are gone, but you got a possibility of these couple 4DX tickets, compliments of Brett Deacon and the good folks at 4DX. What is your question?
I'm going to bring us back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to honor Schnepp and go super sweaty with a theory that I've had for like a month. And
You're
I've
going
been
to make me
kind of
cry.
over.
Don't fucking do that.
Dude, all right. So, the premise of my theory is Knights of Ren. This is J.J. Abrams' baby. So my theory is they are currently disconnected from the Force. They learned this from Luke Skywalker. He's teaching Rey all of these things based off his, knowledge of Vader turning the hubris, all of that. The visual dictionary shows us a Kyber crystal, red, from a Jedi Crusader. My theory is a Revan. You may have found the same holocron that Bane has found. Rule of 2. Bear with me.
I'm with you.
So, you're Luke Skywalker. You've discovered all of these things that made you disconnect. The reason for the disconnect is that the stronger he gets, the stronger Kylo Ren gets. So he's like, okay, I'm going to just disconnect and end that whole thing, the whole balance. He teaches all of his students how to disconnect. The rule of 2 is him and Ben Solo only. You see flashbacks from Knights of Ren. We know they're his students that left with him. They come back, none of them have lightsabers. We don't even know if they're Force sensitive. Darkness Rises. light to meet it. So I'm asking you what you think about this theory. Knights of Ren can still be in play. Maybe they're sitting on Mustafar. The new Vader comic that just came out this month, actually, Vader himself said that he believed things can only happen in a nexus or a locus, whatever you want to call it, on Mustafar, Octo, those things. He thinks that you can only do things in those areas. You can only do stuff like disconnecting. So basically, my theory is that Luke didn't only know this ability, but he used it to his advantage to hide himself, or others learned what the Sith learned, that you'll destroy yourselves if everybody is sharing the Force. So just basically all those thoughts. What do you guys?
Do I co-sign that theory? Is that the question?
Yeah, do you co-sign that Luke would have taken it upon himself to say, listen, maybe the Sith had some of these things right? Are the Knights of Ren currently disconnected, and maybe Kylo Ren can choose to teach them his own way?
I do buy that. It's also the blending of two different movies, right? Like there's a bunch of Force Awakens in there, but also a bunch of Last Jedi, and those are two separate DNAs at this point.
That saber scene when they're both pulling on
Yeah.
it, and you know they're equals in that moment.
Yes.
I feel like there's a cap kind of on the Force, and I'm gonna tangent off now, but I can kind of explain the shirtless Kylo Ren scene. Hear me out.
Oh, okay.
Hear me out. I went back and I watched The Last Jedi through every scene, like what happened. So the moment when Luke Skywalker reconnects to the Force and he calls out to Leia, he's like, Leia, and she awakens. Right after that right before that, is the scene where he's talking to Rey about the mosaic and the hubris and all of this. So that scene happens, then Luke reconnects. The very next scene is Rey Force Skyping, or whatever you want to call it.
Skyping?
With Kylo Ren.
That's winning tickets right there. Force Skyping.
With the shirtless Kylo Ren. So Snoke, he's, floating around there. He immediately sensed Luke's reconnect, freaks the fuck out, and he's like, I gotta distract Rey. Connects her with Kylo immediately. Doesn't care what Kylo's doing, he's shirtless. To distract her. Right after that...
He's like, how can I distract this female Jedi?
Because he knows...
Ooh, a shirtless boy.
Right, so then you keep going down in the scenes, you keep going down. After that happens... He reconnects them again in the hut scene. He's trying to distract her the whole time. Luke shows up, freaks out bad that they're touching and connecting. So.
Right. All right, here's my philosophy. I think it's tough to piece together not because of the story that they're telling, but because of the outsides. No, not even that, but because the way I see the Star Wars situation from the outside, I don't know anything, but this is what it looks like to an outsider, and I've read a few articles that kind of backs it up. JJ did his thing. Ryan did whatever he wanted, his thing, just like JJ did whatever he wanted. Ryan did whatever he wanted, and some of what Ryan did undoes some of what JJ set up. So Knights of Ren was like, that was a big fucking deal in Force Awakens, and then it's kind of discarded in Last Jedi. I think now that JJ's coming back to make the third Star Wars movie, I think a lot of those ideas, including fucking the Knights of Ren, will probably come back into play. To me, it looked like from the outside, a storyteller going like, I like that, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to do my story. This is how I'm going to tell the story. But now that the first guy is returning, I would imagine he's going to bring some of his elements back into play,
There's no way that you could possibly complete a trilogy without a thought-out story first.
Right.
Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, but just handing the baton off thing without knowing what your end game thing is. Marvel can pull it off because it's growing, and they have all.
And also,
these
they've got a
comics
guy
and
in the
things they can
God
pull from.
seat who's
Right.
been telling a story for like 10
This whole
years.
Star
Kevin
Wars thing
Feige's
where
like, there is somebody in charge with an overview there who is telling one long-form story. Doesn't feel like that's what's going on Star Wars yet.
You have to retcon, I feel like, some things.
Although it would not surprise me if going into fucking Force Awakens, Kathy Kennedy was like, where does this story end? We have to know where it's ending. And JJ, you're tacking towards that. Ryan, you're tacking towards that. You're both going to end up putting the tracks on the way to that final depot, that terminal.
Which again, it's not the final depot. It's that we keep going like, well, it's over after 9, and they've never said that.
No, totally
They're
true.
going to keep going. Believe me, there'll be episode 10, 11, 12. We'll leave this world. They'll be on episode 99, the Gretzky episode and shit. I don't think they're stopping.
No, but I think there was a sense of at least this will be a trilogy, and there will be trilogies after this, and Ryan will go off and do his own separate one, and the Game of Thrones
Game
guys
of
will
Thrones
do one.
guys, yeah.
But like this particular, this part of the saga will come to some semblance of
The Skywalker saga.
The Skywalker saga. And they would have to know what that ending is. I don't believe that they start telling that story without a sense of what it's going to be when it winds up. But it always changes. Like the route you are taking to get to that ending always changes when you're telling that kind of story. And sometimes the destination changes. You're like, I don't fucking want to go there anymore. Like, I thought that was going to be interesting to me. And when I got there, not as much fun as I thought it was going to be. So there's a world in which it's always evolving. It's constantly evolving. But I believe that you don't start spending what will be $600 million worth of money without a sense of what that last couple of beats were going to be. And harmony would have to be part of that.
What's your over/under odds on Knights of Ren having a major factor? In the
Over
last-
under, I say there's reference and they pop up, but I don't think it's like the plot of the next one. Although that would be fantastic if like JJ sets it
I
up.
think
He's
we
like, look,
verified
man,
there's
in the first one I'm
yeah.
doing Knights of Ren, and then all of a sudden Ryan made a movie and shit, and that discarded it. And it'd be awesome if JJ came back and goes, as I was saying.
I mean, yeah.
And it's all fucking Ren action, man.
And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. My only criticism of the Rian Johnson film is that it took place over a week or two.
Is that right?
Month maybe. Like,
What are the timelines
timeline's not
on
a lot,
those movies?
Not a
Like
lot
how
of
long
time.
is Star Wars though?
But you watch them chase them through space.
Oh, I agree.
Like,
But I mean, just
so-
thinking backwards, how Star Wars takes place over a couple days. Like, you know, it's like,
the,
hey, I
the original trilogies.
yeah,
it
well,
was
the first
years,
one.
I
The
feel
first
like.
one. Like, the movie
Yeah.
Star Wars.
New Hope.
Yeah, the fucking droids land on Tatooine. They get picked up, sold to the Skywalker and his uncle and shit. And then all of a sudden
Within
they're like,
the
let's
own
get out of
trilogy,
here.
yeah.
And the
Spoilers.
stormtrooper, yeah,
Spoilers.
stormtroopers show up, kill his fucking family. And then he meets Ben Kenobi, and then fucking, hey man, let's go to the town. And then they get up in space, oh shit, the Death
Yeah, you're
Star's
right.
got us, and then we're getting away, and we're gonna go blow up fucking Yavin, and I'm telling you, that takes place over the span of a week. It's not that long.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, I mean there could be time jumps between them. I mean the
Yeah, I feel like
Between the
shit.
movies.
Yeah, and not even the movies. I mean like the time between when Vader captures Leia and the escape, right? Could be a couple of days, right? Could be a week, maybe.
No way.
Maybe.
Well,
Who knows how long
because
it-
they keep cutting to the other story, and that's still going on. Like
Yeah.
they're crossing over and stuff.
You know, I don't know how long it is between when they arrive at what's his face, the fucking rebel headquarters, and they
Yavin.
launch the assault.
Yeah.
Yavin. I don't know how. Like that could be a week for all we know.
See, in my head, it's fast because the Empire knows where they are. They've put a tracking device on the fucking Falcon, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
we know where they're going to
But
be.
who knows how far away it is? I don't know. It could be longer. It feels like in story time, it's like 4 days.
There was a nice representation of space travel in The Predator today, I thought, where they ripped open space and then jumped through it and space closed. And I
Spoilers.
thought that was kind of cool.
Spoilers, yeah.
It's in the trailer, I believe. But, and I don't know if you guys know
I'm
this,
not
but
gonna
the
see
Predator
it.
comes from outer space. So that took us in places, man. You get some fucking tickets. Give it up for him, man. Very Knights of Ren. Fuck, man, I really hope for your benefit that fucking curtain comes up and it's just nothing but nonstop Knights of Ren action.
Nobody's
You're like, I
wearing
fucking love it!
Nobody's wearing a shirt. Everybody's just like hairless and topless and just
They're all shirtless with scars on their faces.
in a
What's up,
parade.
girl? Do you want a space Skype? What'd you call it? Force Skyping?
Force Skyping.
You want a force Skype? Fuck no, that sounds hard.
Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, bloop. Hey, girl, how you doing?
I got my lightsaber. All right, man, we're out of fucking stuff to give away. That means we're done with the Q&A. Y'all
We
guys
are.
did great, but when we're done with the Q&A, that means we're done with the fucking show. We've got no more show left to give you, man. The very first episode of Fatman Beyond is coming to a close, man. We don't get to do this without the fucking bar, so give it up for JC and the Scum and Villainy Cantina. We don't get to do this without the guy standing to my left, so give it up for mighty Marc Bernardin. And that is Fatman Beyond for this week, man. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next time. Same fat time, same fat channels, podcast.com or
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
there it is. Good night, everybody.
Fatman Beyond.